Welcome, cricket fans of America, to the 2025 Minor League Cricket Championships. We are coming to you live from the Strikers Cricket Ground in Morgan Hill, California. A pair of games this lovely morning and afternoon, as we've got reasonable temperatures, not the triple-digit mess that was going on in Davis last week. Today, sitting right a little bit above 70 as we get ready for action. It's going to be the two Bay Area sides, both with a common refrain today, and it's one that echoes rather regularly here in the Bay Area, and that is beat LA. The LA Lashings will be playing a pair of games against the Silicon Valley Strikers in the morning, and the defending division champions and 2024 finalists, the East Bay Blazers, later on in the afternoon. It's a day that could very easily bring a lot of clarity to the playoff race or could shove it into absolute disarray, depending on what the Lashings do. They're coming off of a loss yesterday to the East Bay Blazers, a little bit on the heavy side. But you can't judge future results by past results for the simple fact that this Lashings team has already once shown the ability to bounce back from a tough defeat and turn around and punch that team in the mouth. They did that on Monday against the San Ramon Grizzlies. They were defeated by 9 wickets with 9 overs remaining in the chase. In game 1, came right back and knocked off the Grizzlies in the nightcap. So they'll be looking to do that twice today. They've played the Strikers last weekend. They played the Blazers yesterday. Rough results in both of those. They'll look to get right and get their one win against each of the Bay Area teams by the end of action today. If they do that, 4-4, you deal second losses to those teams. You've got Seattle and San Ramon beating each other up in the Northwest this weekend. Could very easily turn the playoff race into an absolute mess. The kind of thing that makes a guy like me say to himself, how can I make a spreadsheet that solves this problem? And so that's what it could be. It could also very easily be a couple of teams sitting at 4-1 and the Grizzlies at 5-2 by the end of play today, and very, very clear which 3 teams are still in play for a playoff spot. So a lot to fight for, a lot to decide over the course of today's action. My name is Joe Hickey. We've got Bala at the controls, and I am joined, reunited, and it feels so good at long last. I don't know which one of us is Peaches and which one is Herb, but Hadi Venkatramani with me on the mic today. Hadi, so good to finally be alongside you and not just trading voice messages up and down the NorCal coast.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning to all the folks on the stream. Actually, good afternoon and good evening, no matter where you are. Welcome to another Saturday of some stirring cricket here at Morgan Hill. This has been a venue of quite a few entertaining matches over the last couple of weekends. We are moments away from the first ball. The batters of the Strikers are in the middle, ready to go, as the fielding unit is in a huddle.
Yeah, indeed. Strikers won the toss and have elected to bat. Somewhat surprisingly to me, I figured this cooler set of conditions, although the cloud cover has burned off in the last 15 minutes, might have lent itself to wanting to bowl first and try and take advantage potentially of some motion, some swing that might be on offer with the cooler pitch. But the Strikers have elected to get back out there and bat right away. Silicon Valley so far this season have only batted first in one of their matches, but if the results of that are to be believed, you'd want to do it every time. They hung 217 on San Diego in that match.
Going back to the last time these two sides faced off the previous weekend, Strikers managed to nail a comfortable chase. Lashings batted first on that occasion and posted a total around the 120 mark, and Strikers were able to chase that and win by 4 wickets.
And if we got a look there at the Lashings team sheet just a moment ago, and we'll give you the indication of what is different there. Compared to yesterday, Akmal Hajisada, the lefty pacer, in to add a little bit extra of that. The Strikers, as a batting unit, have struggled a little bit this season against lefty pace. Abhimanyu Rajap in, as well as Mohammad Ishach Zazai. Out of the lineup are Aryan Chowdhury, Rubal Raina, and Mayank Raghav. Raghav carrying an injury into the week, did play yesterday but was out for a golden duck. Had some issues with his right hip during the course of the Labor Day games against the San Ramon Grizzlies. Didn't stop him in that one, though. Put up 55 runs, 48 of those from boundaries. And so that's the changes there. Silicon Valley running out the exact same side they did last time they were out here when they posted that 217 and dusted the San Diego Surf Riders. It'll be Adapali and Adada to start things here for the men in two-tone blue. Harpreet Singh behind the wicket, the LA Lashings captain, and it appears it's going to be, it's like Akmal Hajisada, at least according to our scorecard, that will get the first ball of this innings. Number 56 on his back, deep protection at square leg and in the sweeper cover position as we get ready to get underway here from Morgan Hill. Strikers Cricket Ground, glad to have you with us. Lashings Strikers. First delivery run by Adapali to the man inside the circle. Good stop. Able to hold Adapali on strike, coming off of a stellar effort in Silicon Valley's last game. You were here for that innings from Amok Adapali back on Monday. Anything particularly jump out to you about the performance from the young man?
Lots of runs, 73 of 52 balls. And given the volume of cricket we've seen in the last couple of weekends, the only memory that sticks out is plenty of boundaries. This time pushed into the covers with an open face, which allows a little bit of placement to the left of the diving short cover fielder. First runs on the board for strikers. Adapali is off the mark.
Yeah, to that point, 8 4s and 2 6s for Amok Adapali. He's been on rosters of MILC teams the last couple of seasons, but has not gotten any play. Through one weekend, leads Silicon Valley in runs scored with a 128 strike rate. For those 122 runs he's managed to total up so far, 73 off 52 against San Diego. He is at the non-strikers end, and we'll get our first look at the man with the number 1 on his back, Adapali and Adada. Righty-lefty combination here for the strikers to start with. Fielders barely change their position. Might argue that the man on the offside now is at point as opposed to sweeper cover. Deep protection square of the wicket. Slip in place is Mohammad Ishach Zazai to the side of the man with the gloves and the man with the plan, Harpreet Singh. That one buzzes its way right through. Adada, watchful.
The ball dying just a wee bit as the keeper collected that one. That has been a feature at this near end sometimes.
This the Atul's end, if they did not change the names in between. I have to ask the guy who's been calling all the games at Tadaka so far.
I've been calling them near end with far end.
Oh, okay. I think last season I was given Tadaka end for where Akmal Hajisada is bowling from, and Atul's end where the wicketkeeper and slip and Adapali and Adada are. Another one that stays down, but this one wide of the tram lines, and so a freebie run here. Adada so far having some struggles against lefties, be it pace or spin. Hasn't faced a ton of it, but 9 runs and 2 dismissals off 9 deliveries faced coming into action today. Continuing to watch, and this can be an issue for Adapali and Adada now and again. Certainly somebody who prizes his wicket, but sometimes at the expense of rotating the strike. Doing a little better this season. Last year, though, 66% of the balls he faced were dot deliveries, and his non-boundary strike rate was 23. So far this year, 33% dots, 68 for the non-boundary strike rate. Bit more of an able partner. Fends that one off, a half-hearted appeal. And my apologies here. I was suspicious as well of the scorecard because it is 56 versus 55. He looked too big to be Akmal Hajisada. That is Elmore Hutchinson bowling the opening over from that side. Hajisada right next to him as it works out, but that is Big Elmore. A pair of lefties, as we mentioned, in the side. Hajisada, the new one, into the team.
Hutchinson's coming off some good form from the previous evening. He bowled a bunch of tidy overs, a couple of overs with the new ball. Attempted slash towards the offside. The ball goes underneath the batter's edge. That is a tidy finish to the first over by Ellie Hutchinson. Just a couple of runs off the first over. Strikers 2 for none after 1.
First over from the near end, Atul's end, is going to be entrusted to Gayan Fernando, the 37-year-old from Colombo, Sri Lanka. Back with the Lashings after 2 seasons in San Diego, one of them superlative when he led all of minor league cricket in wickets taken in 2023. Coming into action this week, he had 4 wickets taken in his 12 overs. Yesterday, took a little bit of tap, but also took wickets. He got Hizbullah Durrani and Suleiman Arabzai's wickets. Went 2 for 33, but most of that damage from the man who had the 70 runs yesterday, Sujith Gowda, 24 off the 10 when he faced off with Fernando. First deliveries down the leg side and helped along by the bat of Amog Adapali, and there is the first 4 of the day. As we said, 8 of those last time he was here.
No worries is the chirp from the fieldsman as Fernando walks back to his mark. Plenty of purple jerseys on the offside. We've got a 5-4 field in place for Fernando at the moment. The only fielder deep on the offside is a man at deep point, close to sweeper cover, deep point thereabouts. And there is a man at deep square leg to the right-handed Adapali.
Yeah, seems a bit behind square, so maybe not a total mistake there to go down that sort of leg stump line, but just straying a little bit too far and opening the chance to run it back fine leg. A little more on the mark from the second delivery from Fernando. So that one just has to be batted into the turf by Adapali. I'll be interested to see if we see any more fields like some of the ones that were put out last weekend up in Davis. Very regularly seeing fields where it was only deep protection on the onside, nobody inside the circle, and then a crowd at the offside for the likes of Johnson and Jariwala. Just past the outstretched hand of Fernando. Chance at the wicket-keeper's end as Hajisada fires it towards Harpreet. No such luck, and Adada's in safely.
Lashings had a pretty interesting outing with the ball last evening against the Blazers. The opening stand for the Blazers openers rained down a bunch of runs in the first 8 or 9 overs, and then Lashings had a bit of a comeback in the middle stage and had a very tidy effort at the death. They would hope to replicate the second half of that bowling performance today, but they would also hope that the opening partnership from the strikers openers doesn't do as much damage today.
And certainly with the exception of that Monday game, Silicon Valley have not been quite as quick off the mark with bat in hand as East Bay tends to be. Blazers, over the years in particular, have defined themselves by opening partnerships and second wicket partnerships going for big runs. Silicon Valley have been searching a little bit for the right pairing up top. They've tried a few different variations. That's airborne and dropped by the man at third. It's going to wind up being a 4, but that looked for the moment like it was destined for the hands of Achilles Brown at third man.
Early life for Adada. Adada is coming off a 34 from 23 in his previous outing back on the 1st of September against San Diego Surf Riders. He did not get to bat in the other contest against Lashings. He would hope to build on that life here. He was a not before this dropped chance. He moves to 4 of 5 with that for 2 to his boundary to third man.
An early wicket would certainly be the sort of thing to try and lock down the power play here. Continue with a slip in place here against Adada. pushed on the ground to the offside. Fielder there, Zahid Zakhail. It's been very sure-handed to this point, often stationed in roughly that area during the power play.
This has been a much tighter over from Guyan Fernando after that first ball to the right-hander, which drifted down the leg side.
He's been on point, certainly created a chance, ended up going for 4, but good opportunity. Final ball of the second. And that one's going to get through Adada and into the gloves of Harpreet Singh. Nothing doing on that one, so 9 runs coming from it. A 4 on a loose ball from Fernando and a 4 on what could have been wicket number 1. Silicon Valley 11 for no loss through 2.
Ali Hutchinson about to continue from the far end. A very tidy beginning in his first over. The scorecard is still not showing the right bowler name. It's still Hajisada. It's actually Hutchinson.
Both guys with a vowel to start their first name and an H to start their last name. Almost the same number. Really, the height's the only thing that's going to give it away, I think.
Push towards short mid wicket by Adapali. That is a dot to begin Hutchinson's second over.
Deep protection by and large unchanged. So far, the only balls that have escaped the infield have been run back behind, though. Fine leg and third on either side inside the circle. That one's going to be run out towards the offside, just delicate enough to let Adapali and Adada sprint a single.
Accurate stuff from Hutchinson so far. He's not allowed the batters to free their arms too much. He's been bowling around about middle stump with his left arm angle, especially to the right-hander. That brings Adada back on strike.
When you mentioned yesterday the economical spell, Hutchinson, the only Lashings bowler that went under a run a ball, 1 for 15, and eventually taking the wicket of the high scorer Gowda.
That one punched back to the bowler of a soft defensive stroke. Lots of applause from the jerseys in purple.
It was one of the defining factors of that second game against San Ramon. Just right out of the gate was the chatter in the field and the spirit of this team. And so one of the things they're looking for today, I had a chance to talk with Abhimanyu Rajap earlier, is he said, okay, we've taken a loss against each one of these teams. Now we got to get our win against each one of these teams. You keep yourselves right around 500, beat up on San Diego potentially next weekend, and they could be right in that playoff race.
This time dinked into the point region for a quick single. Adapali is quick enough to come home comfortably. At the moment, it's all singles only of Hutchinson. Singles in the infield. Soft hands allowing the batters to complete that single.
Well, it's been one of the nice things to see with Hutchinson this season. Last year, a little erratic, led MILC in wides, and that was responsible for most of the damage his economy took. He'd have been sitting right around 6.7 last season without all those wides. This season, he's only bowled 4 of them, and his economy is sitting under a run a ball for the year.
Push back towards the bowler. A very, very tidy stop by a big man. Falling down to his right to make a tidy stop. 6.7 economy rate. It's almost his height.
Just about, yeah. I was going to say, it's 6'6", and not for nothing at 43 years old. The way he gets down quickly to the cricket ball, whether it's off his own bowling or as a fielder off of others, absolutely impressive to me. I'm only a year older than him, and I know that I would need a week to recover from some of his dives.
This time,
Adapali thinking about that one for a moment as it's run to the offside, but that will be snapped up by Abhimanyu Rajap. And that brings this over to an end. Just 2 off of it for Elmore Hutchinson. He has been absolutely on point to start. Silicon Valley 13 for no loss through 3.
Fernando to begin proceedings from the near end. The lefty Adada is on strike. Oh, aerial over the infield. Cover drive, 1 bounce 4. Lovely boundary from Adada. That is the second boundary. His first boundary was streaky towards the third man region. This time, though, plonking his front foot down and transferring a bit of momentum into the shot. Strikers jumped to 17 for none with that boundary. Great boost of confidence for the batter. Front foot 4 always does a world of good early in innings for a batsman.
And Adada last year, a 45 off 39 against LA. He's the sort of guy who you can get rather frequently early in his innings, but if he sticks around, he becomes very, very dangerous.
Immediate adjustments in the field. Deep mid-wicket has been reeled back into the ring, which means there is a mid-on short fine leg and a mid-wicket in the ring on the leg side. There is a deep cover, almost a straightish deep cover in place at the moment to complement the deep point. Those are 2 men in the deep for Fernando. Stump banged in a little shorter, but outside off stump. Adada trying to get a little bit of slice on that one. No contact.
This is where the recent tendency to get better at exchanging the strike could come in very handy. Adada had a way last season of getting that early boundary, then getting a lot of pressure on him in the form of dots, and then gone. Getting to the other end, feeding Adapali, his young teammate, a little bit more of the strike. Living to fight another day. The order of the day here.
This time push towards short cover. The batters think about a single but wisely chose to stay put.
And deep protection all now on the offside as they move Abhimanyu Rajat back to the fence at long off. Also got one at what looks like a backward point.
This time, the third man region is protected again for Adada. This time, more controlled. That was bowled a little wide of off stump. Adada sort of going back and slapping it through the vacant point region. 3 boundaries for Adada early in the piece. He moves to 13 of 13.
And good work here, shifting, if not the feet, at the very least the weight, to make a little bit of room and access that fine third man region. He's had luck there so far, now he's got skill there.
All 3 of Adada's boundaries have come on the offside, a couple of them behind the point region and one a lofted cover drive. Fernando might want to adjust his line just a little straighter to prevent that shot. They also have a wideish slip in place. This time onside, pull towards mid-on for a quick single. A little bit of a...
There's a misfield there as that one gets under Hajisada and runs all the way to the boundary. I was about to compliment the Lashings, generally speaking, on their fielding on that inner circle and the stops they tend to make, and I'm glad I didn't say anything because I'd have felt like I cursed them. Maybe I thought it too loud.
And compliments actually gave way to a little bit of a lashing by the bowler. An open-faced steer into the offside and in the gap as well as it runs to deep point for a single. Adada's really piling on the runs this over. 3 fours and a single. That is the end of a 13-run Fernando over. He's got figures of none for 22 after 2 overs. Strikers 25 for none after 4.
At long last, reality has caught up with the scorecard, as it will be Akmal Hajisada bowling from the Taraka end. We'll see if they eventually repair things there with the 2 Hutchinson overs, which have thus far gone for just 4 runs, only 3 of those off the bat. It's been Guy and Fernando taking tap a little bit as he did yesterday. He did take 2 wickets, but for 33 runs.
More left-arm pace from the far end as Hajisada replaces Ellie Hutchinson. Lefty to a lefty. This time, Adada with a pull shot beats mid-on to his left. They have enough time to scramble a comfortable single. It's been a bit of a topsy-turvy start for the Lashings bowling unit. Ellie Hutchinson from the far end has kept it super tidy. Fernando from the near end has went for a couple of boundaries over both of his 2 overs. Adada with all of the boundaries of Fernando so far. Adapali, the more studious of the 2 partners at the moment, with 7 of 9.
I suppose at the moment, for those wondering, it looks like the scorecard has stopped updating. That might have been the realization on the side of the scorekeepers that they had the wrong bowler, and they're going to have to go back and do some redos. In the meanwhile, we'll keep you updated.
Push softly into the covers, the softness of the stroke allowing the batters to complete a comfortable single. Diving throw by the short cover fieldsman, but the batters are home and safe. This is good batting by both batters. The boundaries are interspersed with these sharp singles around the infield. The scorecard's ticking all the time. Strikers 25 for no loss in the 5th over.
Well, 28 at this point, actually. Last 3 singles haven't quite posted yet, but nice to see the activity on the infield, the willingness to try to take those run-out chances. I was a little worried. One of the foremost practitioners of that, Ahmed Hamza Hotak on this team, unavailable this week with an injury to his leg.
This time, a swish outside the off stump results in no contact. Good bit of pace from the bowler on that occasion. There's quite a bit of carry to the keeper.
A decent job trying to cramp Adada so far. We've seen him make great use of any width on offer to send the ball back behind third man or just to the side of Harpreet Singh.
This time a firm front-footed push towards mid-off, and a sharp single has been taken. There is an overthrow at the non-striker's end, but no damage done.
Well backed up there by one of the 3 players wearing number 8 on the field. I believe that one, it's not Abi. I think that was Akeem Dodson. No, actually, I think better of it. I think that might have been Shiva.
Hajisada to Adapali. Push towards mid-off for another quick single. Adapali dealing in singles at the moment.
And doing well so far just to start racking up some runs from this side. You mentioned the pitch, sometimes a little bit variable bounce from this side, and Hutchinson seemed to take full advantage of that. Hajisada might not be hitting quite the best soft spots, having a little easier time pushing that ball through the infield for these singles.
One thing we've seen here at Tariqa over the last couple of weekends is the far end has been a constant end for the pace bowlers. This time steered into the gap on the offside. Magnificent shot. There is a man at deep point who can keep this to a single. That is a good-looking shot by Adada. Adada showing strokes on both sides of the wicket so far. This one a controlled steer towards deep point as Hajisada concludes his first over. 5 singles. Strikers 31 for none after 5 overs.
First introduction of spin into the encounter. It's going to be Abhimanyu Rajap picking things up from Atul's end. He's got Tarun Adada on strike, who last season a bit faster of a scorer against spin, and he's already off to a decent start against the Pacers in the first 5 overs. Right away, hitting the pad. Umpire unmoved by the full-throated appeal for the men in purple and gold. Abhimanyu into the team today after sitting out yesterday's game. Again hitting pad, again the attempted sweep does not find the leather. Rajap 4 wickets last weekend, a 4.50 economy. That one worked off the pads. May well be a leg by, waiting on the signal, but it runs down to fine leg. And indeed, so far, Abhimanyu every bit as tight as we've been seeing him in the power play. Bowled 2 power play overs last weekend. Took a wicket, gave up just 3 runs on 12 deliveries.
Rajap switching to left arm around the wicket to the right-handed Adapali. This has been a productive end for left-arm spinners. Sanjay Krishnamurthy has been operating from this end over the games for the Blazers. Yesterday, Zahid Zakil was quite a handful bowling from this end. From this specific angle, there's quite a bit of turn and offer when spinners are operating from this end. So this should be an interesting battle. Rajap against Adapali spinning the ball away from the right-handed batter. There is protection.
That one guided and stopped nicely by the man at backward point. That will be a single. But good work to keep that from getting out of the infield. So far, a leg by, a single, and a wide off the first 3 balls of the over. And I think we're having a small non-verbal argument over here, me and Huddy, about exactly how to classify Abhimanyu Rajap. ESPN Crick Info has him as that one goes straight on through, backing away. Is Adada, and I know that is not going to be a delivery. That's a dead ball as he stepped away just in time, signaled by the umpire. But yeah, ESPN Crick Info has him listed as an off-break bowler. I'll admit the motion looks a little more like leg break.
That has been struck fiercely over deep square leg for 6. Adada continuing to pulverize the boundaries. That is his first 6. Got down low and got a fair bit of elevation onto that stroke. Off spin drifting onto the pads and Adada going down low and helping himself to a fiercely struck 6. He is finding a fair bit of momentum on this morning. It's looking ominous for Lashings at the moment.
First time we've really seen him go to the onside with power.
Complementing his big boundary hits with singles all the time. Smart work by Adada, opening the face and steering it to the left of point.
Yeah, I think knowing he's got a little more batting in this lineup for the Silicon Valley Strikers than he had, for instance, last season with the Grizzlies, he's a little more willing to get on the move, to take some chances, and not soak up those dots the way he did in 2024.
An open face steer through the covers by Adapali. This has pierced the gap and it's running away for 4. Lots of applause from the Strikers dugout as Adapali also joins the boundary party. That is the end of the power plays. Strikers 45 for none after 6. Rajib going for 13 on his first over.
Nearing a 50 opening partnership here at 45 for no loss through the power play. Akmal Hajisada is going to continue on from the Tadika end. So far, it's been all lefty pace from that side of the ground, and to great effect. Elmore Hutchinson gave up 3 runs off the bat and a wide. Hajisada just went for 5 singles in his first over. All the damage for the Strikers. It's been happening when bowlers have been steaming in from Atul's end. Fernando and now Abhimanyu Rajap going for big runs. It is the lefty Adada on strike against the southpaw quick Hajisada. That one worked off of a 4th stump line there by Adada. Runs it down to third man. It'll be a single. Of course, now the fielding restrictions lifted. Deep protection is back there at deep third man in the form of Guy and Fernando. Although he's going to come on up now with Adapali on strike. And a lot of movement here as they'll station someone deep at backwards square, at mid-wicket, at long off, long on, and at sweeper cover.
Hajisada's been getting some impressive carry in his spells so far. More calibrations in the field by the Lashings unit.
And last season, Hajisada, a little feast or famine against right-handed batting. 51% of his deliveries were dots, but 20% of them went for boundaries. A little less likely to travel to the rope against lefties, but didn't quite keep them on strike and build pressure the same way. That one lifted and wide of the protection at sweeper cover. Little back behind point, and Adapali, well, showing a little bit of what I was talking about. Tends to concede more boundaries against right-handed batters. That brings up the 50 partnership for the Silicon Valley Strikers.
This has been a resounding stand so far by the openers. Adapali now boundaries of spin and pace, punching a boundary through the covers of the last ball of the previous over, and now off the lefty angle, launching it aerially over the point region. Lashings again facing up to a productive opening stand.
And not for nothing, the first boundary conceded from this end of the ground.
There is a change of angle by Hajisada in response to that shot. He's going left arm around the wicket, perhaps to try and cramp Adapali.
Took full advantage of the width. Seems like a good reaction.
Appeal for caught behind. That is an athletic take by the keeper. The umpire says yes. Exultation by the bowler. Adapali walks back for 18, made from 15 balls. Good reward for Hajisada's pace and carry.
And we see there maybe even a bit of a double bluff. He takes that new angle round the wicket, elects not to go straight into the feet of Adapali, continues to leave a little bit of width on offer, and Amo cannot resist. We see the feathered edge straight back and a one-handed acrobatic take by Harry. First wicket down just after the half-century partnership comes up.
Adapali walks back to some applause from the strikers' dugout. A 50-run opening stand has given them the platform to expand more and post a big total on this hot afternoon.
I have to disagree with you about the hot part right there. We got a little sun on us now, but come hang out in 103 temperatures in Davis and tell me about heat.
I'm trying to be a little prescient. We are marching towards hotness.
Working our way slowly there. Good news, as we like to say on the West Coast. It's a dry heat. It's not like what you're dealing with potentially down in Texas or in at Church Street Park in North Carolina this weekend, so can somewhat cope with it. So yet to see it reflected on the scorecard. The new man out to partner Adada is going to make it, I believe, a pair of lefty batters that looks to be Shahan Jayasurya. At least in stature and handedness. Still waiting for him to turn the back to us so we can verify that with the number. Usually in at 3. And yes, confirmed. There it is, the 31 on his back. So Shahan Jayasurya in. 33-year-old from Colombo. So far a 31, a 9, and a 28 to start his season. 131 strike rate and a 22.7 average. Didn't feature, however, in the game between the Strikers and the Lashings last week. Still coming around the wicket is Hajisada. He pulls out of the run-up at the last moment, though. Jayasurya's struggles with pace from the last season have continued a little bit. Didn't see a whole heck of a lot of it last year, but only scored 22 runs and was dismissed 3 times off 29 deliveries against Pacers. So far this year, 108 the strike rate and 7 the average against pace, 138 and 54 those numbers against spinners. So he'll be hoping to survive this over and look forward to attacking the spin from the other end.
Push towards mid-wicket for a dot. Cautious start by Jayasurya. Jayasurya is coming off a couple of useful knocks this tournament. He's got a 28 of 19 against the Surf Riders and a 31 from 27 against the San Ramon Grizzlies. So he is amongst some decent form at the moment.
Yeah, last year, Shahan, somebody kind of like Adada in that he was either out really early or stuck around for quite some time. 4 of his 7 innings over within the first 10 balls. When you've got a set Shahan Jayasurya, though, it is bad news for any opposing bowler.
That has been lifted and deposited over deep mid-wicket by Jayasurya. You talked about being set. He's set already. Just one ball to get a little feel for the conditions and then immediately using the length and leverage to smash a 6. That's a handsome way to get off the mark for Jayasurya.
Yeah, Hajisada continuing that round the wicket angle, and this time around just doesn't quite cramp him and doesn't quite produce enough of an angle. Very easy one for him to close the bat face on and smash over mid-wicket.
This has been an eventful over so far. A boundary, a 6, and a wicket. One more ball to go.
Yeah, somebody's been happy about just about every delivery.
Worked off the pads towards the man at deep mid-wicket for a single this time. Hajisada completes his second over. He's got figures of 1 for 17 after 2. Strikers 57 for 1 after 7.
It looks as though we're going to see some field adjustments here, necessitating the arrival of pads and a face mask. Or perhaps, actually, it appears that it's going to be Akeem Dodson going back behind the stumps, and Harpreet Singh peeling out to play inside the circle without the gloves. So that would be the change in place. I thought we were going to start to see some silly fielders out here. For the time being, just silly commentators.
Rajib bowling around the wicket to the left-handed Jayasurya. We had a little bit of a conversation about what style of bowling he's pursuing. It appears as though he's landing off breaks, especially when he's bowling around the wicket, although his grip suggests leg spin. This time it's lofted aerially wide of long off, but long off is able to intercept. That is a single to Jayasurya. He's made a sprightly start so far. 8 of 5, aided by a 6 and a couple of singles. That brings Adada back on strike.
So far on the season, not a insane surprise to see Shahan pushing a little bit. 133 his strike rate inside the first 5 balls of an innings. 3 fours in that time as well. Jayasurya, after getting the strike back on the prior single, hands it right back to Adada, rolling that one to the onside rather.
Attempted sweep shot, trickles off the pad wide of the keeper, dot ball. This has been a much tidier over from Rajib so far. A ball to go, 3 singles.
Well, we've seen a decent bit of that attempted sweep. Every time he wanders onto the legs, that's what Adada wants. He's yet to connect on one.
This time guided towards the point region. It is in the gap. There's a man running towards his right in the deep, but the chase is in vain. The ball wins the race. Adada keeps piling the boundaries on. That is the end of Rajib's second over. He's got figures of none for 20 after 2. As we take a look at the replay, that was an off-spinner bowled quite wide of the stumps, allowing Adada to reach and power a cut shot. Wide of point and wide of third man. The placement was picture perfect in that occasion. Strikers 64 for 1 after 8.
It's going to be spin from both ends, and perhaps we see the reason for getting Hakeem Dodson ready to take over behind the stumps. Not so much to make Harpreet Singh a fielder, but to allow him to be a bowler as he'll take over from the Tadika end. Harpreet so far with just 1 over bowled. It was against Silicon Valley, conceded 10 runs. He was used a great deal more back in 21 and 22. Immediately tapped in the air. Brief hint of perhaps a caught and bowled, but not carrying all the way to the big man. Jayasurya on strike. This one worked backwards of square. Nice vacant zone there. We were commenting earlier about some of the fields that have left the onside extremely wide open. Only man currently inside the circle on the onside is Fine Leg. Now Adada on strike. He'll work this one to the offside and no run there as he taps it straight to Hajisada in the circle.
Harpreet Singh's operating with a 5-4 field at the moment, 5 on the offside. There's a sweeper cover and a long off in place. Correction, a point and a long off in place. A
switch hit from Adada, and that is sweet. Straight into one of the flags, ringing the field. We've seen him try to do the conventional sweep a handful of times and not able to get it to come off against the offies. This time around, though, switches the bat around and accesses that vacant area over the top of all those offside fielders in the circle. Another look at that. And that time around on a off-stump line, begging for that shot. Adada on the comeback delivery from Harpreet, taps it straight back into his right hand on a hop. For Adada, now 40 runs racked up off 30 balls faced. Trying for it again. This time it doesn't quite come off, but the top edge will allow them to take a single. That on the final delivery of the over. For the most part, pretty tight bowling from Harpreet Singh, but highlighted by a gorgeous reverse sweep 6 off the bat of Tadon Adada. He moves to 40 runs after the leg by. Silicon Valley, 72 for 1 through 9. This will be Abhimanyu Rajap's third over on the trot from Atul's end. He took over for the final over of the power play from Gayan Fernando. He'll take us all the way to the halfway point of this innings from this end of the ground. So far, a rough 13-run over, including a leg by to finish off the power play. Last over a lot tighter, 3 singles before the 4 on the final ball. First delivery stays down on Adada. And a dot to start.
Adada works that one towards deep mid-wicket for a single. Singles are actually a slightly less common feature of his innings so far. His 41 has been helped by 5 fours and 2 sixes. That is roughly 80% of his runs through boundaries.
That, I gotta say, Hari, a proper stat whack. This one's fired straight back past Abhimanyu Rajap. A very wide, long-on fielder, Zahid Zakhael, quick with the feet, able to get to it. Gun it back in. Just one from it. Good active work again in the field from the LA Lashings.
Zakhael feeling a little bit for his left shoulder after the throw. This time steered with an open face through the covers. There are men in the deep on the offside, but that was placed with perfection by Adada. He's finding the boundaries with regularity through this middle stage as well, as he jumps to 45 of just 34.
Adada at the moment just 2 runs off of his MILC high score of 47.
It wasn't a bad ball by any means, but Adada going back and finding some room to punch it through the gap. This time a little shorter, going back and cutting it to the man at deep point for a single.
Certainly the case that Tadon Adada, since he's made his move out west, he was a St. Louis American until last year when he came aboard with the Grizzlies, has taken a liking to facing off with the SoCal teams. His 2 highest scores since coming out here have both been against San Diego, 47 and 43. He's now working on punishing the purple side of SoCal.
Jayasurya flicks it on off his pads towards short square leg for a single. That is 8 runs of Rajup's third over. He's got figures of none for 28 after 3 as strikers find themselves 80 for 1 at the halfway mark as we head into a short drinks break.
First innings, halfway done. 10 overs in the books. Silicon Valley Strikers 80 for 1. As it appears, it'll be Harpreet Singh continuing from the Tadika end. Bala at the controls. Anut on the camera work. My name's Joe Hickey, joined by Hari Venkatramani today. Finally, a 2-man broadcast. It's nice to have a conversation with somebody other than myself. It's the ball on the first one after the restart. It's tapped to the man in the circle on the offside, Akmal Hajisada.
LA Lashings would love to reprise their second innings pullback from yesterday. They did concede a bunch of runs to the opening partnership and then managed to put the squeeze on in the late stage. They would love to try and rein this innings in as Jayasurya knocks it into the point region for a quick single. Tried the non-strikers in, but the batters are in comfortably. Harpreet Singh's got quite a few roles to multiplex. He is the keeper and the captain, and he's bowling off spin, and he bats somewhere in the middle order. That is quite a few responsibilities to juggle for the big man. There is almost a full toss, bunted into the covers by Adada for a quick single. A direct hit at the non-strikers end, allowing the batters to get an extra run off the ricochet. A little bit of consternation from the bowler on perhaps why did you have to throw it so hard. The LED is still zinging. That is quite fun to watch.
And without doubt, much appreciated for a commentator. You have no doubt when it's been hit. That was rather close. Adada a bit lackadaisical coming up to that. He survives, though, on 48. This now is his high score in minor league cricket and 2 off of a first career half century. That'll just be the single, so the milestone will have to wait as it goes through the offside. Final ball of the 11th over here is to Jayasurya. Worked into a vacant region around mid-wicket, thinking about a second, but good impassioned running in from the boundary to get to that, and it'll just be 5 off of the Harpreet Singh over, with the lone exception of that switch hit 6 from Tarun Adada. Singh otherwise just 6 runs conceded off of his 11 deliveries. Silicon Valley 85 for 1 through 11.
Pankaj Chowdhury and Sundaram Subramanian are the gentlemen officiating this contest. Sundaram Subramanian has been on view for several of these games here at Tarika over the last couple of weekends.
Yeah, I see a lot of Sundaram around this general area. Being up in Davis over the weekend, I missed him. I missed my buddy. Making new friends amidst the umpires, though, as well. Takes a village to put this sort of thing on.
Absolutely.
Guyan Fernando returning to the attack. He bowled the first 2 from this end in the power play and was somewhat taken apart, going at 11 runs per. Tarun Adada, in particular, took a liking to the bowling from the 37-year-old Sri Lankan.
This is a Sri Lankan face-off at the moment. Fernando v. Jayasurya. Righty quick bowling over the wicket to the left-handed batter.
Heck, forget Sri Lanka. It's a Colombo face-off right now. Just one more thing.
Steered towards the point region for a single. Jayasurya has been dealing in singles after that early 6. The advantage with an early boundary is you get into your innings, the strike rate is up and running pretty early, and then you can spend a little bit of time without taking too many risks. He is 15 of 14 so far. Adada within a whisker of his first half century. That is fiercely struck through the deep point region for 4. Adada brings up his first half century, 53 of 39 balls so far. The strikers dugout going gaga for Adada.
Could not have brought it up in a more stylish or more emblematic way. Those the taking advantage of a little bit of width to shoot the ball either back behind point or back to third man has been a constant feature of the Adada innings so far. He does exactly that there, maybe as authoritative as any of those strokes have been so far today, Huddy.
7 fours and 2 sixes fueling that half century. Adada looks good for more. He goes for a big swing to the leg side this time, gets either an underedge or defeated the bat completely. It ran towards the deep fine leg region as point gives chase. The batters jogged through for a couple of runs. I haven't seen in the umpire signal by, so that is off the bat. Adada moves to 55 of 40. Lots of chirp from the strikers' dugout as they cheer Adada's runs. He is definitely going to keep attacking. This time a push towards the offside resulting in no contact. Flies through to the keeper for a useful dot ball from Fernando.
Yeah, for all of his talents, smartest thing Jayasurya did on that very first ball is just work it to where there's some space, get Adada the strike, and let him continue to feast off Guy and Fernanda.
This time pushed into the vacant region through the covers for a comfortable single. 8 runs of this over so far with the ball to go. This partnership is flourishing at the moment. 43 runs unbeaten so far. This was on the back of the 50-run opening stand between Adada and Adapali. Can Fernando price a wicket at this stage?
That is lifted square of the wicket and is going to find its way to the boundary on a roll. 4 off the final ball of that over. Guy and Fernando continuing to travel, and Silicon Valley now just a little bit shy of bringing up the 100. They are at 97 for 1 through 12. So far, as we told you at the end of his last over, very, very tight from that end. He's given up just the 1 switch hit 6 from Adada. Otherwise, 4 singles and a 2. Flattens this one out, popped up by Adada, but there's nobody in that zone in the deep. It's over the top of Zahid Zakil. And Adada continues to motor along. Third man was up inside the rope. And Adada takes advantage. He moves to 60. Silicon Valley bring up the 100 with that 4, 102 for 1.
This time a firm front foot push down the ground. Big Ellie Hutchinson at long off keeps that to a single. It is a bit of a surprise that we haven't seen Zahid Zakil bowl today. He had a pretty productive outing with the ball yesterday. I saw him feel for his left shoulder after a throw from long off a few overs ago. Perhaps he's got a tender shoulder. That has been speared into the block hole. Jayasurya digs it on out. Tight bowling by Harpreet Singh.
Believe taking another look at the replay from that switch hit 6 from earlier from Adada.
This time tickled off towards the vacant third man region by Jayasurya. They have enough time to complete a second run. That is Jayasurya's first 2. He moves to 21 of 16. Both batters would be keen at this stage to take the attack to the bowlers. Adada has been attacking right from the get-go. Singh to Jayasurya. Floated slower. Jayasurya guides this through the covers. Mid-off can only run, and long-off can only run and wane to his right as he brings up under the boundary. Jayasurya showing some flair on either side of the wicket. He struck his first 2 boundaries on the leg side, courtesy of a pull shot and a sort of a lifted pull over square leg in the previous over of Fernando. This time, front of the wicket.
Yeah, nice use of the feet there, too, to scramble forward and make a little bit of room. Got to the pitch, gave himself the chance to shoot that one well wide of Hutchinson on that side. Prior shot from Adada had been quite narrow and had beaten the fielders being placed a little bit wider. This time around, they make a small adjustment, and then Jayasurya with the counter adjustment.
This time an attempted forcing shot through the mid-wicket region, but no contact. An appeal for stumping, but nobody, the umpires are not moved. A useful dot by Harpreet Singh. This has been an expensive over so far. 13 of this over so far with the ball to go. Can Harpreet Singh finish with the dot, or even better, can he extricate Jayasurya from the crease? Again, deftly placed behind the point fielder. Jayasurya gets a single to finish quite the expensive over from the off-spinner. That is 14 runs of Harpreet Singh's third over. He's got figures of none for 26 after 3. Strikers find themselves at Nilsson. It's 111 for 1 after 13.
After the Guy and Fernando over went for 12, it'll be Abhimanyu Rajap returning to bowl from Atul's end. This will be the final over of his spell. Had an expensive first over, otherwise has by and large gone in singles, but has coughed up 1-4 in each of the other 2 overs he's bowled. Figures of none for 28 thus far in the innings. First delivery searching for another boundary, but good work out there in the covers. Sweeper cover up with it. That's Shiva Vashishat. For once able to do full process of elimination about which number 8 I'm looking at over there, because one of them's bowling and the other one's the wicket keeper, so that's got to be Shiva.
Lots of deduction on the fly, Joe. I wish I had your eyesight.
Sort of funny to me that the 8 on these jerseys, since they do the Laker fonts, I just keep seeing Kobe, Kobe, Kobe. It's actually what pointed it out to me that they were using the Lakers font was at some point in one of the first games of I think it was last season or maybe 2 seasons ago, I saw Rajap next to Ayan Desai, who was wearing number 34, and it looked like Shaq and Kobe to me all of a sudden. Like, wait a minute. Purple and gold. Proper block numeral, little drop shadow.
That is floated in full. Adada on the front foot, pushing it softly towards covers for a single, as Rajap, the bowler himself, has to reel that in. A couple of singles to start the 14th over. Rajap has gone at roughly 10 runs and over in his spell so far. He'd love to keep this a quiet over, and his team would love for an incision at this stage. Both batters set. Jayasurya looking to attack. Attack he does. He is reeled in at the fence by a magnificently timed jump by the deep mid-wicket fieldsman. That is a lovely catch to cut short a promising innings from Jayasurya. He falls for 27 of 21, aided by a couple of 6s and a 4. That is the end of a pretty strong partnership between Jayasurya and Adada.
Certainly the call from the Silicon Valley dugout was shot. It looked pretty darn good off the bat, but just needed one more weedy this morning to get that one over the line. And Akmal Hajisada, tall enough that we briefly were confused about whether it was him or Elmore Hutchinson at the other end, shows off the vertical and hauls that one in. The partnership ended at 63 runs for the second wicket.
Hajisada impressing not just with the vertical there, but also with the timing of the jump. The ball had a fair bit of air time, and almost everybody in the ground was thinking 6, but Hajisada had other ideas. Much needed breakthrough for the Lashings bowling unit.
And so it'll be the captain, Raymond Reefer, in at 4. Reefer coming off a massive day in the last outing for this team. 61 not out off 21. He had that to end the weekend. Had a 32 not out off 29 to start the weekend. And that accounting for all but 19 of his runs. Currently 4th in MILC in average, in no small part because of those not outs.
Reefer worked this one off his pads towards wide long on for a single. He's off the mark straight away. There is just a little bit of hesitation between the batters for a possible second run, but it is won eventually. Reefer scored that magnificent 61 unbeaten off just 21 balls right here at Tarika. He has made a lot of runs at this ground. This time, an inner edge taking it, the shot fine leg reaching the keeper, runs back to clean that up. That is another single. It has been a very tidy over so far by Rajup, helped of course by that handsome catch by Hajisada at the deep fence. Can he find a wicket of his last ball? Can he get rid of another danger man? Reefer punches this one off the front foot through the covers for a single. That is the end of Rajup's 4 overs. He's got figures of 1 for 33. Strikers march on to 116 for 2 at the end of 14 overs.
And as Rajab very nearly did, Harpreet Singh, in fact, will bowl all 4 of his overs in a row from the Tarika end. From that end, we've seen lefty pace, 2 variations of it, Hutchinson and Hajisada, and now 4 consecutive of Harpreet Singh. He's gone for 26, most of that damage done in his last over from this end. Continues to be a pair of lefties at the crease. The new man, Raymond Reefer, taps the first delivery straight back to the LA captain. Extra man behind the wicket on the offside here for Reefer as that one's tapped straight to him. They'll take the quick single as the leaping throw is to Harry's end, which I now have to remind myself is not the wicketkeeper's end. I see that number and I'm expecting gloves.
Harpreet Singh's operating with a 5-4 field to both left-handers. A long off's in place, a sweeper covers in place. 3 men in the deep, an arc between wideish long on and deep square leg.
Only man inside the circle on the onside is fine leg as that one's tapped straight back past the hand of Harpreet Singh. Doesn't quite have enough petrol to make it to the rope though.
It's quite a surprise to hear the word petrol being spoken of in America. I'm so used to gasoline.
Well, I used to say Sunoco, and then they stopped giving us money. And for whatever reason, I started with petrol from Suhas Vedam when he told me not to do that. And yeah, it stuck. That one lifted to the offside. It'll pick out the deep fielder at point. so far operating just in singles off of Harpreet's final over. He has conceded a pair of fours in the last over and a few wides to go along with that switch hit 6 from Adada in his first over of work. Flattens this one out.
Another attempted switch hit by Adada, but this time no contact. There is nobody in the deep behind the point region, which is why Adada continues to employ this reverse attempt. Last ball of Singh's spell coming up. This time a more conventional shot by Adada. He punches this one down the ground for a single. That is 4 singles of Harpreet Singh's 4th over. He's got figures of none for 30 of his 4 overs, as strikers find themselves at 120 for 2 after 15 overs. A run rate of exactly 8.
Entering the death overs, and it will have to be new bowlers at either end of the ground, as both Harpreet Singh and Abhimanyu Rajap have finished their spells in the last 2. It appears it'll be a change of ends for the lefty pacer, the under-19 option, Akmal Hajisada. His first 2 overs. First one, very economical, just 5 singles off of it. Second one, very eventful, a 4, a 6, but also the wicket of Amok Adapali. Akmal's been involved in both wickets. Took the first one as a bowler, and of course the leaping snag to dismiss Shehan Jayasurya on 27. Silicon Valley were going at exactly 8s at the halfway point, 80 for 1 at that juncture, now continuing at that pace. Yesterday against East Bay, also exactly 8s. The Blazers went 160 for something. Struggling to remember. 160 for 7. There it is.
Raymond Reefer has got 116 runs in this tourney so far of 76 balls, striking at 152.63. If he spends most of the next 5 overs in the middle, you can bet the run rate would move a lot north of 8.
Well, and especially given the fact that you're likely to see a lot of pace down the stretch here. That's what Reefer has made his money destroying in MILC. 183, 133, the strike rate split, pace to spin. He's going to be happy to be getting a look at the lefty Hajisada. Guy and Fernando's still got 1. Elmore Hutchinson's got 2. Odds are that's where most of the remaining overs are coming from.
Left arm over, Hajisada to Adada. Big swing through the offside by Adada, no contact.
You mentioned earlier the decision not to deploy Zahid Zakhail. It's not the first time I've seen a very lefty stacked lineup, particularly with Silicon Valley. They often have a lot more left-handed batters than the remaining teams in the West. To see a team take a frontline lefty spinner and just keep him on ice. The Grizzlies a couple of years ago, they kept doing that with Vatsal Vagela when this team was deploying Lahira Milanta, Shiva Mishra, Shehan Jayasurya. So not a huge surprise to see that employed again here.
The question is it employed intentionally or is it forced because of any minor niggle?
Also a possibility.
This time a big booming full toss collected by the keeper on the bounce. The umpire gives it a little bit of thought, but I haven't seen him flash his hand out, so that is a legal delivery.
Yeah, certainly Reefer at the non-strikers end asking the question, did that come through above hip height?
Hajisada's run-up reminds me a little bit of Dirk Nannes, the Dutch Aussie quick, who was in operation about 10-15 years ago for a brief period. This time an under edge back to the keeper, but a wide actually, so probably no bat. The bowler is not too pleased with that call, but the umpire's call has to stand. Adada trying to fetch that one from outside the off stump, way outside the off stump towards the wide long on region. For a brief moment from our vantage point at the comm box, it felt like an under edge.
Just the one run off two official deliveries so far. Hajisada's radar has been a little bit all over to start this over.
This time Adada finds a lot of bat in that one. That is a lofted cover drive, sailing for 6, cleared the boundary by at least 10 yards.
For just the slightest of moments, thought perhaps that long off was in the game to take another catch like the one that we saw to dismiss Jayasurya. Nothing doing, though.
To borrow a phrase from Joe, it's been feast or famine in this over of Hajisada so far. ... An extra and a big booming 6 of the blade of Adada. It is a lefty versus lefty contest at the moment, and both bowler and batter have names ending with Ada. This time steered in a more controlled fashion, square of the wicket on the offside. Deep point runs in to keep that to a single. Adada's worked his way up into the 70s now. He's at 72 of 53 balls.
Just one run shy at the moment of posting the highest score on the season, I believe, for Silicon Valley. Another look at that gorgeous drive to the offside. Off the bat of Adada for a 6 as he moves to 72. 2 left in the over as they'll have to re-bowl the extra. Here comes Hajisada against the captain, Reefer. Little pace off, and that one's knocked down to his feet. Dodson quickly out, and Reefer will have to retreat, get back into his own crease. Three boundaries so far hit today off of Hajisada, who has, by and large, done some pretty decent work. Did go for 17 off his 2 overs against the Strikers in his only other appearance. Lashings tending to get him into the team when a club is lefty heavy.
Lots of chirp from the long off fieldsman, perhaps. Some advice to the bowler. That is slanted down the leg side as Reefer tries to flick that one towards fine leg. The umpire has signaled wide.
Yeah, took his time on that one. I thought for a moment maybe Reefer had danced far enough across his stumps that was going to be given as a legal delivery, but instead second extra to go along with 7 off the bat. Four men on the onside here. Final ball, this to Reefer. That'll be ladled to vacant area between mid-wicket and mid-on. Zahid Zakil in off the rope to claim it, and he will limit it to just the single. With that, 130 for the loss of 2. 4 overs left to build a total here for the Silicon Valley Strikers. Lengthy 15th over, complicit the 2 wides from Akmal Hajizada. Silicon Valley took 10 off of it. They're now at 130 for 2. And it's going to be the return of Elmore Hutchinson now From the Tarika end, seems likely he will take the last two from that side. We'll see if they then go Hajisada and Fernando from Atul's end to finish off, or if Harpreet Singh has any surprises up his sleeve. So far, he and his fellow off-spinner Abhimanyu Rajap bowled out.
Ellie Hutchinson was extremely parsimonious with his spell at the back end yesterday against Blazers. Just 8 runs of his 2 overs around about this stage. Slapped towards long on by the skipper. That is a single to begin Hutchinson's third over. He's got figures of none for 5 of his 2.1. Again, the most economical bowler on view. The big tall man from the Caribbean.
Yep, Westmoreland, Jamaica. Of course, a USA international.
Adada's got 4 overs to possibly concoct a century. What's he going to do here? That has been bowled into the block hole. He digs it out towards long off for a single. Tidy work by the bowler.
Hutchinson has pulled his economy all the way down to 5.7 with his performance here today and yesterday.
Reefer goes down low and smokes a drive wide of the long off fieldsman for 4. That is an extremely elegant yet powerful strike from the captain. That is his first boundary.
Reefer's first, and also the first one conceded by Elmore Hutchinson here halfway through his third over of work. A lot of width on offer there, and Reefer down to one knee. Take a picture of that and put it in a cricket manual. That was pretty.
Won't be too surprised if Hutchinson resorts to a slower cutter. That was picked up on the full by Reefer this time onside. Deep mid-wicket runs forward. It's going to be a tight couple of runs at the strikers, and there's a bit of confusion. Reefer was urging the set batter Adada to come back for a second run, but Adada was planted at the strikers' end. A little bit of consternation by the skipper.
Well, certainly the question of who wants the strike more. You've got Reefer, who's been the high-octane finisher so far this season, but then Adada, the set batsman, working on a potential century, right now tied with the highest striker score so far this season, and working his way towards the top 10 in MILC for 2025.
This time an open-faced steer towards deep point by Adada for a single, so Reefer gets his strike back. One more ball to go of Hutchinson's third over.
Even with the 4, still uber economical, 12 off 17 balls. One thing he hasn't done is strike. Last season, though, lethal at the death. 5 of the 7 wickets he claimed came there.
Again bowled into the block hole, dug out by Reefer towards the mid-off region. Ellie Hutchinson gives chase and comes up with a pretty elegant sliding stop. That is the end of the 17th over. 5 singles and a 4 to round out Hutchinson's third over. 13 for none of his 3 overs so far. Strikers 139 for 2 after 17.
Eighteenth over here from Atul's end will be the last of the match for Guyan Fernando. And so far, 34 conceded off his 3 overs of work. Has gone for multiple boundaries in each over so far. Yet to go for a maximum, but 2 fours in the first over, 3 in the second, and 2 more in his third. Looking to try to keep Reefer and Adada inside the ropes here. Strikers trying to continue to build a defendable target, already working its way towards 140.
Fernando picked up a couple of wickets yesterday against the Blazers. From Lashings' point of view, he'd love to add to the tally in his last over here. Reefer goes into the deep on the offside. That is a single to long off. Adada 74 of 55. I just get the sense that he's tiring a little bit. I haven't seen him push for the second run in the last couple of overs, even though there weren't necessarily too many outstanding opportunities for a couple. All those boundaries would take a little bit of energy out of any batter. 74 of 55. Fernando to Adada. Adada goes gaga. He takes that one over long on for another 6. He moves into the 80s with that magnificent strike.
That one has me thinking about moving my car.
Is the car...
It's back behind us. Maybe he might have needed another 20 or 30 yards to get there, but the direction was perfect. Absolutely perfect line to try to drill my Elantra. At any rate, another boundary. That is the first maximum off Fernando. You did mention him striking, though, yesterday. Took out Adabzai at the finish. All but one of his wickets this season have come at the death.
This time steered towards the covers and the ring, though. Just a single. Adada's got 8 fours to go with his 4 sixes. That is 56 runs of his 81, courtesy of those big boundaries. Reefer tries to go for a square drive, finds the edge, it takes it to third man for a 4. That was bowled foolish, just a little outside off. Hands on head rather for the bowler.
And no doubt Akeem Dodson will have felt the wind parting as that one whistled by his glove. Thought he was in it for just a split second. But too much of a deviation and moving too quickly. 150 up for Silicon Valley Strikers. Adada into the 80s on the prior ball that was launched to the fence. Worth noting right now, almost 18 overs gone. Just 36 dot balls bowled by LA Lashings. We've certainly focused on the boundaries, but strikers have done an amazing job of keeping the strike rotating. Just really 1 out of every 3 balls has gone for a dot.
Another attempted fierce cut by Reefer, but no contact this time.
37 dots now.
Going by the bat swing, Reefer is definitely looking for boundaries of every ball at this stage. Both of the previous dot and the edged 4 and the ball prior. Big swing of the bat. Fernando to Reefer for his last ball. This time, the swing is met with a strong connection that sails over the long off fieldsman. It clears the boundary by a good 10 yards. Reefer opening up his shoulders. He moves to 23 from 15 with that big 6. Fernando has figures of none for 52 after 4 overs. Quite the expensive day in the office for the fast bowler. Strikers 157 for 2 after 18.
Elmore Hutchinson will bowl the final over from the Tadika end. And we'll see if it is indeed Akmal Hajisada taking the last one from Atul's end, or if the Lashings have a surprise up their sleeves for us. Certainly a few other bowling options potentially available out there, namely Zahid Zakhail. They have used just the 5 so far here today. Just 2 wickets taken. Abhimanyu Rajap responsible for one of those when he removed Shehan Jayasurya on 27. Akmal, who's got an over left, currently sitting at 1 for 27 as he got Amok Adapali to nick off to Harpreet Singh. Hutchinson's last. He comes in with just 13 runs conceded off his 3. Adada looking to muss those figures up, but on a couple of hops, he has picked out the fielder at backward point. Just a single there.
11 balls to go towards the completion of the innings. Both batters would love a lot of strike. Reefer trying to do a lot of damage. This is a phase in which he thrives. He's got the shots and the muscle to accelerate at this stage. Adada in sight of a century, although it will be a tough chase to reel in those 18 runs. Reefer lofts this down the ground beyond the outstretched arms of the bowler. That runs away for a straight boundary. Boundaries of consecutive balls when Reefer's been on strike. A 6 of Fernando in the previous over and now a 4 down the ground.
And I was wondering if Reefer was going to give the game away a little early. He moved across his stumps very early in Elmore's run-up, but no adjustment made. And maybe a little later than I thought, actually, in retrospect. Shot that one right through the hands of the 43-year-old Jamaican. Elmore already with one of the better caught and bowls I've seen this season. Stuck out his left paw against Seattle to catch Ian Dev Chauhan. Thought he might be in the game for one there.
This time sliced in the gap between long off and deep cover. That is a couple of comfortable runs for the batters. There appears to be a change of gloves for the batter.
Might be the case here, or just getting his hand free so he can take a sip of water. I couldn't quite tell if that was a glove signal or a... No, it's a glove signal. It's kind of remarkable. Have we seen Adada take a change of gloves? He's been out there since the very, very start.
I don't think so.
Adada at this point 2 balls shy of having faced exactly half the available deliveries in the innings. He's sitting now at 82. That the 7th highest score so far this year in minor league cricket. And kind of remarkable for as much as we talked about the bowling and the low totals last week. Most of those top scores have come here in the West.
This time onside goes Reefer. Couple of fieldsmen chasing it. But the ball does bounce and finds itself towards the deep mid-wicket fielder running in. That is a couple of runs for Reefer.
Captain continues to keep the strike here, even on the miss hit.
31 from just 18 for Reefer so far.
Yeah, for those wondering now, 5 of the top 8 scores in MILC so far this season coming in the Western Division.
This time lofted towards a long-on fieldsman. Goes to him on the bounce. That is a single to the skipper.
Of course, you got to be on commentary for a number of those big scores last weekend. Saidev Ganesh's century, absolutely astounding. Snell Patel flirting with one in that chase that got closer than I think it had any right to when Silicon Valley got to 217.
Tarika has been quite the good venue for big scores.
Lashings are going to need to dial up a little bit of that. They'll be chasing in excess of 170.
Lofted towards long on. Long on is in the... Oh, that is a comfortable pouch for long on eventually. Adada finishes a mighty innings with 82 from 59 balls as we await confirmation of the fielder.
But in the meanwhile here, though, a 54-run partnership. Every partnership so far in this innings has gone for a half century or more. 50 for the first wicket, 63 for the second. This one here just trying to punish a ball towards long on and not quite getting enough of it. He's punished width all day today, but that time around, bit of a toe end. Picks out that fielder in the deep, and it's the captain, Harry Harpreet Singh, hauling that one in.
Adada returns to a rousing welcome from his teammates at the striker's dugout. 82 from just 59 balls, 8 fours and 4 sixes, his highest score in MILC by a stretch.
And don't get it lost in there with that as well. Elmore Hutchinson finally getting the wicket that his bowling has deserved all day. 1 for 15 yesterday, taking out Gowda, the high scorer. Today, on his very final ball, removes Adada, the high scorer. Albeit a fair bit later than I think the Lashings would have preferred. He ends up responsible for nearly half of the 167 runs. It's going to be Akmal Hajisada to bowl the last of this first innings from a tool's end. Gary Graham in at 5 at the non-striker's end. Raymond Reefer awaiting. Full toss and an under edge that sneaks past the glove of Akeem Dodson. Not the first time we've seen that from Reefer. Probably won't be the last. And another 4 runs onto the Silicon Valley total as they push into the 170s.
That is the second boundary that Reefer has picked up behind the keeper through a streaky edge.
Four fours and a maximum for Raymond here. Let's see what else he's got in the tank. That one pushed just under the legs of Gary Graham. Straight drive. And they will comfortably come back for a pair, and Reefer will maintain the strike. Graham and Reefer out there in the 20th over. I'm getting flashbacks to that 2022 Strikers team that won 13 of 14 games and took me along to Morrisville for the championship round. That one's in the air. Looks like the park will hold it. Zahid Zakhail drifting under, and he will make the catch, and that'll bring the end to Raymond Reefer's innings. A solid 38 off 22. As Lashings look to limit the damage here. It was such an understated reaction from everyone that for a split second I was concerned that I did not see a drop, that perhaps Zakhail's body had blocked our view, but another toe-ender. A lot of power in that bat and in those arms, but Zakhail comes in and claims it. Just the third time, I believe, in 6 innings, or maybe the second time, actually, that Reefer has been retired. I think just the second. That's why his average is ranking so highly. It's going to be Pranay Suri in at 6, but he'll face before Graham does.
Reefer departs for 38 off 22 deliveries, again striking upwards of 180, 172 to be specific, 172.73.
Hajisada continues his record of being involved in nearly all the wickets. He's got 2 of them as a bowler and 1 that catch at the boundary that dismissed Jayasurya back in the 14th over. He wouldn't mind adding to that tally to restrict the target that the men in purple and gold are going to have to chase. That is an off-pace full toss, and lucky not to have been punished further for it, and we do await an umpire again not signaling a no ball. That will bring Gary Graham on strike. Graham has suffered against left-handed pace over the last couple of seasons.
56 runs of 35 balls in this tournament so far for Gary Graham. So he's been involved at the late stages of the innings, averaging 18, striking at 160. Can Hajisada find another wicket here at the death? Big swing by Graham, no contact. The angle taking it away from the right-hander all the time. Useful dot by the bowler.
And certainly Graham this season so far has been getting in that really late, last 2, 3, 4 overs sort of time frame where he can go with a reckless abandon. Last couple of seasons he's been in more around like the 11th or 12th over when he isn't nearly as comfortable. Of course, this time around in the 20th and doesn't even get to face until the penultimate ball. So not quite enough time to do his sort of damage as Hajisada gets ready to steam in for the final ball of this first innings. Where will the target land? This one cut through the covers. It'll be a convergence between the two fielders. They will look to take a second as the throw is in to Akmal Hajizada's end. It is a pair to finish things off. And just as one of his earlier overs was, a lot of activity, a boundary as well as a wicket off his final one. It goes for 9. Silicon Valley Strikers finish off their innings at 176 for 4. The target 177 for the Lashings to try to avoid falling to defeat in the first game of our doubleheader.
Strikers won the toss earlier in the morning and chose to bat first, and they were anchored by a tremendous opening partnership between Adapali and Adada. Adada, the headline act of this innings, 82 of 59 balls with the help of a whole number of boundaries and sixes. Jayasurya in at number 3, contributing 27 quick runs as well. Each partnership in the top 4 yielding 50 plus runs. Reefer at number 4, accelerating at the death, 38 of 22. And a couple of single figures unbeaten for Gary Graham and Pranay Suri at the end, bringing up 176 runs for the Strikers for the loss of just 4 wickets. Lashings would need 177 in 20 overs at 8.8 to reel this imposing chase in. Let's take a look at the bowling scorecard.
For the Lashings, a bit difficult reading at this juncture here. Elmore Hutchinson, the only one to keep things at under a run a ball. Responsible as well for a wicket on his final delivery to, at long last, remove the rampant Tadon Adada. Guy and Fernando, the one that took the most tap, he was victimized a little bit yesterday, but did manage to strike with a pair of wickets. Today, no joy and 52 conceded off of his 4 overs, going for big boundaries from the likes of Adada, Jayasurya, and Reefer. Akmal Hajizada, 2 wickets, still going at 9 runs and over, but he does claim the wicket of Reefer late and of Adapali early, and responsible for a nice catch at the boundary to go along with that. Abhimanyu Rajap, when he came in with the off spin, able to profit and take 1 wicket, but LA Lashings struggling to remove batters and struggling to avoid those boundary shots as the Silicon Valley Strikers racked up, let's see if we can do the math in our head rapidly here, a grand total of 17 fours and 6 maximums over the course of that innings, making it very tough sledding. But, of course, the Lashings will look to get some of the same joy that the Bay Area sides have had so far batting on this pitch here at the Strikers Cricket Ground when we come back. 177, a bit of a mountain compared to what they put up so far this season, but this is a pitch to try and get it on. We will be back with that 177 chase in about 15 minutes here from Morgan Hill, California. You're watching the 2025 Minor League Cricket Championships. Joe Hickey and Hadi Venkatramani with you on the other side of this break. Welcome back to the Strikers Cricket Ground in Morgan Hill, California. 2025 minor league cricket, Lashings and Strikers, and it's a 177 target for the LA Lashings to try to chase down here in the Strikers' home ground. If they can do so, it will be an impressive feat. Only once in the entire history of minor league has a Southern California team beaten one of the NorCal sides in NorCal. Notably, though, it happened just this week on Monday when these Lashings knocked off the Grizzlies. First delivery of the second innings and the start of the run chase from Saurabh Netravulkar to Mohammad Ishach is a dot. Partnering Ishach Zazai in the bright red lid is going to be Akeem Dodson, newly into the LA Lashings setup this week as a replacement for one of the injured players. Most notably seems to be a direct like-for-like swap as an opening batter for Kirsten Kalacharan, the departed skipper, who wore a Harish Kakani delivery on his forearm and is done for the 2025 MILC campaign. Netravulkar steaming in with the second ball. That one worked as well to the offside and also will be a dot. Joe Hickey with you here from Morgan Hill. Hari Venkatramani alongside me. Hari, it's going to be a tough slog here for the Lashings. They haven't put up scores quite like this season, but they also haven't gotten to play very much on this sort of pitch.
Absolutely, Joe. Good afternoon, Joe. Good afternoon to all the folks on the stream. Lashings would have quite bad memories of Netravulkar from their previous contest. Netravulkar snagged 4 for 9. He got 4 wickets in a single over against Lashings of his third over, so they would look to negotiate him a lot better today in this big chase.
To be fair, a number of the players that he retired on that one, I don't think in the 11 today. Most notably, Mayank Raghav, who is unavailable, picked up an injury at the end of last week, was part of yesterday's game, but not in the 11, at least for game 1 of this doubleheader. He and Kalicharan not there. He did pick off Zahid Zakail for a golden duck, as well as Ajaybir Hundal for one of the more shocking wickets we've seen, a stumbling hit wicket after a menacing delivery. Cutting the hands loose is Ishach Zazai on that one, and that is dragged to a vacant area at square leg. Deep protection was at deep fine leg, and so that'll fly away for the first boundary of the encounter after the 3 Netravulkar dots to start. Seemed to read that one nicely on length, perhaps a little short out of the hand of the Oracle. Netravulkar enjoying pretty much all his success so far in this MILC season against the SoCal sides. 4 for 9, as Huddy told you, against LA, 2 for 26 against San Diego. But 57 runs conceded and no wickets taken in his other 8 overs of work so far. The economy, though, still under a run a ball, all told. And looking for that same area, again wide of the man in the circle, long run, and it will not be won by the fielder, and it's back-to-back 4s for Mohammad Ishach.
Lots of encouragement from the Lashings dugout.
For Zazai here, no surprise to be facing off against a left-handed pacer. So far, he has faced 29 balls this season. 24 of them have been out of left hands and with some stank on them.
Strikers operating with an abundance of left-arm operators. Netravulkar, Reefer, Kamran Hotak used to open the bowling from this near end in their games past.
I'm going to say with bat and with ball, in fact.
Yes.
Final delivery of the over, all faced by Mohammad. And that one is trying to pierce the boundary, or pierce the infield, I meant to say, on the offside. They close as pincers. They pick up a single, though, off of it. 9 balls from those final 3 deliveries of the over. That is roughly the pace the Lashings need to go at. A lot of cricket still left to play. 9 for no loss through 1. first over from Atul's end will in fact be given to the aforementioned Kamran Hotak, lefty spinner. "19-year-old from Afghanistan, former under-19 player over there. So far this season, he's taken wickets against the Bay Area sides. He's kind of the anti-Netravulkar in this respect. 3 wickets so far on the season, all against the Bay Area teams. 2 for 32 against San Ramon, 1 for 23 against East Bay. But in 6 overs, he's conceded 43 runs against LA and San Diego and not struck. He'll look to break that here as Mohammad Ishach will retain the strike, taking a moment to get his equipment straightened out.
The most striking aspect of that statistical nugget from Joe is not the stats themselves, it is the usage of the term anti-Netravulkar. Kamran Hotak begins with a 5-4 offside field for the right-handed Ishach. Skipper Ray Reefer at long off and a man at deep mid-wicket, the only 2 men patrolling the boundary at this power play stage.
Left arm round the wicket goes Hotak, that one going down the leg side. Unclear whether it got a touch or not. Either way, a run will be taken. And it did get a touch, but not from a bat or a glove, so a leg by. That'll put Akeem Dodson on strike for the first time. By the by, happy birthday, Akeem, 38 years young today, the former USA international, born in Queens, raised early in Guyana before coming back to the bustling New York cricket scene at the age of 14. Last couple seasons he spent with St. Louis and Orlando as he drags that one back behind square. A single off the first ball he faces. In the last 2 years, notably explosive against leg spin, getting some spin turning in that same direction here as Hotak briefly appeals for leg before. Signal might have been 2 sounds there as hit the pad after a touch from the willow. This time, Ishach closes the face and directs that where there's room to take a single.
Akeem Dodson was quite studious in his innings yesterday against the Blazers, 14 of 25.
Cutting the hands loose a little more here, but doesn't make great contact. That'll be another single as it drops into an empty space at mid-wicket. Intent, yes. Execution, not just yet. As Mohammad Ishaq will face the final delivery of this second over. Big swing, no ding. That one gets through to the gloves. Lucky for Ishaq, does not find any timber on the way there. So a tidy over from Hotak, 3 off the bat. Leg by to go along with it. LA Lashings, 13 for no loss through 2.
Netravulkar about to begin the 3rd over of the innings. Left arm over the wicket from the far end. Dodson about to face up to Netravulkar. Aerial hit down the ground. The skipper is tracking that, and it's been snaffled, or not quite. Just for a couple of seconds, it looked as though he had it covered, but might have bobbled off. The skipper in a little bit of strife at the mid-off region.
Winds up being costly as he is put down on 2. Netravulkar so far this season, all 6 of his wickets have come in the power play, and it looked like he had himself a 7th. Not held by the skipper.
Ishach goes down the ground this time on the other side as a right-hander. That is another tumbling attempt, not quite reeled in by the mid-off fieldsman. This allows the batters to come back for a second run. Lots of chirp from the Lashings dugout. Clearly, both batters keen to take the game on in this chase. They were chasing a similar target yesterday against the Blazers. 160, they got off to quite the circumspect start. On the evidence of the last 2 overs, both of these openers are looking to take the bowling on.
One certainly chastised a little bit they were by those early wickets of Raghav and Hundal, both of them gone within the span of 3 deliveries. Makes it hard to put the pedal to the metal.
This time off a thickish inside edge. Ishach has that towards deep square leg for a single. They just...
And of course, Ishach into the team specifically to open in the absence of Mayank Raghav. And showing a lot of intent early.
The thing I love about Ishach's batting so far is not just the intent, is the fact that he's wearing an orange helmet, which distinguishes him from the other batter, aside from the right-left giveaways anyway.
No, certainly from the perspective of a commentator, anything like that is great. If you're calling soccer, they're all the way across the field. You're like, could you just wear orange boots or something, or a nice bright headband, or just help a guy out? Mohammad Ishach has got our best interests at heart. We appreciate it. 13 so far for him.
Dodson pushes this one back towards the bowler for a good-looking dot ball.
Dodson, by and large, goes at about this rate most of the time. Even across phases, not a huge difference. A lot of folks speed up at the middle overs or appreciably at the death. His strike rates across the phases, 107, 97, 118. Pretty much a metronome. He's going to get you a run of ball, and he's going to stick around and tie up one end.
This time slapped down the ground. Mid-off is in the ring, which means it's a very useful boundary for Dodson. Boundaries of both batters at this stage. That is quite the encouraging start for Lashings.
Yeah, just the 1-4 yesterday. No need for much in the way of footwork there. Just stand and deliver. Width on offer. Slap it right past the whitish mid-on. Off, rather.
This time into the covers. A tumbling half stop by the fieldsman allows the batters to complete a single. That is quite the productive over for the Lashings. 8 plus 1 equals 9. 9 runs of the third over. Lashings 22 for none after 3.
Impressive work so far from the Lashings, particularly to target Saurabh Netravulkar, who this season inside the power play so far, a 4.20 economy coming into play. They've taken him for 9s in his first 2 overs. And that is beautifully struck on the first delivery from Kamaran Hotak. Unfortunately for the Lashings, picks out the man in the deep, Tadon Adada.
Keep batting, boys, is the chirp from the Lashings dugout. A significant difference in intent from Dodson across the games today and yesterday. 9 of 7 so far. Ishach is the man on strike right now. Left arm spinner, a right-handed batter. Oh, he's bowled him! Hotak delivers with an early wicket. Ishach trying to force the pace as usual. Unfortunately, on that occasion, finding thin air, and Hotak's delivery finding the middle stump. The LEDs go zing as strikers converge to celebrate their first wicket. Lashings 23 for 1 in the middle of the 4th over.
And we'll get a look here at the delivery from Kamran Hotak. Coming around the wicket, and looks like an arm ball. Not a whole lot of turn on offer on that one, and perhaps Ishach trying to predict that turn that never arrived. Ends up through the gate, knocking over middle stump. Kamran Hotak has got himself yet another wicket. Finally one against somebody from SoCal. That's his 4th of this season after 6 last year at about 20 runs per. Harpreet Singh will come out to partner Akeem Dodson in the center, and for the LA Lashings, continuing to want to build in this power play. They have had their struggles so far this season. 30 for 2 yesterday, not terribly ugly. They're certainly going at a better scoring rate today, but had a couple of power plays where they were 5 wickets down last weekend, including the one against Silicon Valley here where Netravulkar went crazy in the 5th over.
Harpreet Singh batted at number 5 in the chase against Blazers yesterday. Today the skipper taking it upon himself to be in the top order. Push back cautiously towards the bowler.
And the only thing we're deprived of today with Kamran Hotak batting and Amir Hamza out is we don't get the brother versus brother matchup today, as Harpreet drags that one wide of the man in the circle over at square leg. A single for the captain, and he is underway.
Harpreet Singh has 1,000+ runs across his T20 career, averaging 25+, striking at 140+. So this is a man who can wield the long handle.
And had the joy of welcoming him to the 1,000-run club in MILC this past weekend.
Tidy work by Hotak so far.
It's a rare thing for Netravulkar to be the less economical of the power play partners.
Attempted swing into the leg side by Dodson found more edge or pad than bat. The umpire actually says wide, so no bat or pad. So that is the bowler seems to suggest the batter found something on it, but the umpire is unmoved.
We'll see if we happen to have a replay of that.
The umpire has actually reversed his decision and considered leg by. Useful result for Kamran Hotak. He finishes his 2nd over. Handy figures of 1 for 5 of 2 so far. Lashings 25 for 1 after 4.
The youngster Amok Adapali, the one with the gloves for the men in two-tone blue. And it's the 2 glove men from the first innings for the Lashings currently partnering at the crease. Akeem Dodson will be on strike to face the first from Raymond Reefer, who takes over for Saurabh Netravulkar at the Tadika end. He, of course, partnered by the captain, Harpreet Singh, who wore the gloves for the first half of the first innings and then rolled the arm over to bowl some off-spin for the rest. First ball from Reefer, and that is dispatched by Akeem Dodson. Down on a leg for the sweep, and absolutely scorched to backward square.
That is a tremendous strike from Dodson, welcoming the skipper Reefer with a very, very handsome strike over square leg. That is angled outside the leg stump. Dodson using the angle to help it along the way. A lot of timing on that to take it about 5 or 6 yards beyond the fence. Despite the early wicket, Lashings showing a lot of intent across these first 5 overs. That is a promising sign for the chasing unit. The far end should arguably be renamed the left-arm quick bowlers, and if we've had a ton of left-arm fast bowlers operate from that end over the competition and over today especially. This time much fuller and straighter by the bowler. Dodson replies with a firm-footed push for a single.
So I don't know if you can go with the left-arm quicks, and I will not stand for this Harpreet Singh erasure.
Oh, yeah. That is a bit of an approximation.
Captain on strike, got underway in the last over, coming on at 3.
It is a skipper v skipper situation right now as Singh takes strike at this end for the first time against Reefer. Reefer operating left arm over the wicket to the right-hander. Open-faced steer into the point region. Despite the fielder there, the batters had enough time to complete a comfortable single. Good proactive work by the skipper.
Similarly to what we saw earlier today from the Silicon Valley Strikers, Lashings doing pretty well to keep the strike moving. We had 3 dots right up front from Saurabh Netravulkar. Since then, I believe a total of 7 dots for the remaining 3.5 overs. And all of them scattered. We haven't seen consecutive dot deliveries in quite a bit.
A smash towards middle on the ball. It's going to be a tight single. Well done, Boogie. It seems to be the call from the dugout. Boogie seems to be the nickname for Akeem Dodson.
Spoogie, I believe
Spoogie?
it is. Spoogie.
Interesting.
Glad to learn how it's pronounced. I was a little nervous about trying it myself, so appreciate the LA dugout letting us know. But imagine Yusuf Zazai is going to be in pretty soon for Silicon Valley doing his calisthenics in the circle.
Again, an open-faced steer by the skipper. This time he's pierced the gap in the infield for a very, very deft boundary. This is creative batting by the skipper, using the angle and the pace. Lots of encouragement from the dugout as the Lashings keep up a decent run rate in the early exchanges here.
Well, you don't get to 1,000 runs by accident in this league, and Harpreet Singh has got all the shots. Already 13 off the over with 1 ball left here from the skipper.
This time shorter. Harpreet goes back and works this one wide of the tumbling fine leg fieldsman. That is a comfortable single to finish Reefer's first over. 14 runs of this over. Lashings finished the 5th over with 39 for 1.
Yusuf continues to loosen up, but at the boundary rope, it'll be coming on Hotak to continue. 3rd over on the trot from Atul's end. Deep protection against Harpreet Singh. Currently at long off and a deep mid-wicket for this final over the power play.
Worked away stylishly towards deep in wicket by Harpreet Singh for a single. Lots of vociferous encouragement from the Lashings dugout for both batters as they keep churning out the singles with the occasional boundaries. This is the last over of the power play, so don't be surprised if the left-handed Dodson tries to attack the left-arm spinner. Attack he does, this time left of the deep mid-wicket fieldsman. It is a comfortable boundary for Dodson as he rumbles on to 21 from just 13 balls.
A very different version of Dodson we're seeing here today from what we saw on Lashing's debut.
Speared in outside off stump. This time a tumbling attempt at a stop by Hotak, but mid-off is there to back him up. That is quite the acrobatic tumble by the bowler there.
In fact, Akeem has just about reversed his figures from yesterday.
This time slammed along the ground. A tumbling stop by Midoff in the ring. Actually, not quite. Midoff could not quite stop that one. The umpire says 4. Dodson continues to pile the boundaries on in the early piece of the chase.
As we get a look at that one, shot along the ground and just a little too quick for the fielder in the ring at mid-off. And Dodson yesterday 14 off 25, today 25 off 15. I think at the moment a pause as the ball is being searched for. Oh, there we go. Take a water break in the meanwhile here. Lashings at the moment putting up what is 2 balls away from being without doubt their second best power play of the season. They did hang 69 for 1 on the Grizzlies in chasing down that total to record the win on Monday afternoon. Otherwise, they have been down multiple wickets at the end of every other power play, very often sitting somewhere in
This is the first time in Tariqa that I've seen such a longish ball rescue attempt, which is quite a surprise because we've had quite a few sixes here over the last couple of weekends.
The nice thing, at least, about those sixes is, by and large, it seems like they have kind of just stuck out there. They maybe take one bounce, land, and that's where you find them. This one was absolutely racing along the carpet and apparently made a bit deeper of an incursion than we expected back there.
.25 of 15 to Dodson so far. He showed boundaries on both sides of the wicket. A flick shot of the quick left arm quick in the previous over, a pull shot for 4, and a lofted boundary over long off as well. So he's shown game and intent right from the get-go today. The ball is back in place. The bowler is back in place. 2 balls to go to conclude the power plays. Hotak v. Dodson.
It's a good thing, too, because you're about to get the out-of-town scoreboard otherwise.
Appeal for leg before the umpire is unmoved. That was an attempted forcing shot towards long on by Dodson. The intent continues to shine from the batter. Last ball of the power play coming up. This time a lot more bat on that, but the bowler is quick enough to keep that in. That is a couple of dots to finish the 6th over. Hotak has figures of 1 for 14 after 3 overs. Lashings find themselves 48 for 1 after 6.
Don't look now, going at 8s. First wicket outside the power play. Looks like it will be handed to Yusuf Zazai, a 24-year-old righty quick from Paktia, Afghanistan. 5 wickets so far in the season. He has struck in all 4 matches. An economy of 7.25 overall. Interestingly, though, a bit different usage already today. He has been a high-leverage bowler almost exclusively to this point. He's bowled 16 overs, 7 in the power play, and 8 at the death. This will be just his second one in the middle overs. And he'll face up with the captain, Harpreet Singh, in a moment. Fielding restrictions, of course, released here, and so deep men all the way round. One back behind the wicket is deep third man, a little on the wide side. First delivery to Harpreet Singh, dragged to that deep protection at mid-on. Long on, rather. That'll be a single to start.
Zazai has been a mixer of lengths across his game so far. He's been bowling them full, occasionally bowling them short, especially using the middle of the pitch to make the ball climb towards the batter. Sometimes bowl the short ball off pace as well. So he's a batter who's tested the footwork and judgment of batters. As the left-handed Dodson faces Zazai for the first time. He's got a 5-4 field for both batters at the moment.
Fens at that one briefly, but into the gloves of Adapali. Nice little bit of zip on that one out of the hand of the Afghani. They continue with the left-hander Dodson as well. The strikers do with the deep third man. Otherwise, all the other deep protection out in front. Long on, long off, and 2 square of the wicket. That one down the leg side. That'll be a wide.
There was a pacey offering from Zazai, but unfortunately, this time a good-looking front-footed drive through the covers. Long off runs to the right in Wayne. That is another boundary for Dodson. The boundaries keep flowing off his broad blade. He grows in confidence and stature with every boundary. Lashings 56 for 1. With a couple of balls to go in the 7th over.
And certainly after a first innings defined by an opener sticking around from the left side, putting up a big score and hitting fours galore, Dodson looking to replicate that to set the stage for the LA Lashing chase as that one's dragged wide of the bowlers as I will grab it. A dot delivery here on the comeback from the 4. Lost, by the way, earlier, the wide delivery before the 2 and the 4, bringing up the 50 for the LA Lashings.
Fiercely struck through the covers again. Reefer runs to his right again in Wayne. That is 4 more for the attacking Dodson. That concludes Zazai's first over. 12 runs off that with a couple of boundaries. Lashings find themselves 60 for 1 after 7 overs in the middle of an upsurge. Run rate 8.57 as we speak.
9's required to get home. A couple of classy drives to the offside off the bat of Hakeem Dodson. Part of a 12-run first over outside the power play as the Lashings continue to motor along in search of a target that is beyond the highest score they've attained this season by a good...
For the Lashings batting unit. Credit to Dodson for continuing with his attacking intent. This is a stark contrast to the more studious approach the Lashings had against the Blazers in the chase yesterday, as we have some off-spin from the near end. Or the Atul end.
That's what I was told to call it last year. Nobody's told me differently yet.
Jayasurya bowling around the wicket, a little diagonal. As the skipper jumps down the ground and deposits him over long on. Thunderous applause from the dugout meets the thunderous strike from the skipper. Boundaries flowing off both batters right now. A little bit of flight met with a little bit of footwork from the batter and a lot of bat on that shot. Again, the fieldsman having to do a little bit of search and rescue. The ball has been rescued. Only possibly to face some more punishment against these two rampaging batters.
First maximum for Harpreet. He's got one of each, a 6 out of 4. Dodson now 5 fours to go along with that brilliantly swept maximum that we saw earlier.
Bowled a lot flatter this time as Harpreet opens the face and steers it to point for a single. We have a thick B right at the comm box inspecting us.
I'm gonna throw a sandwich and see if he'll chase it. That is not what I want to see right now.
That is one of the more voluminous Bs we've seen recently as it comes back for a second look.
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't even look hungry.
Gio's got the bright colors. Perhaps it's Gio's colors. This time, studiously defended back towards the bowler.
Don't make this my fault, Huddy.
As long as nobody gets bit, it's all good.
I'm wearing bright red. If it was a bull in the comm box, I think you'd be on to something.
Slap to point on the ring for another dot ball. A couple of dot balls to the left-handed batter. Suri has hit that one in no man's land between the advancing deep point and the point fieldsmen. They scramble back for a couple of runs. Lots of applause from the dugout as Suri finishes his first over conceding 9 runs. Lashing 69 for 1 after 8 overs. This chase is looking pretty promising at the moment.
Well, and that ball up in the air there, a ton of spin on it, a lot of English, and that had turn off the surface when it pitched. The batted ball did. That would be the envy of any leg spinner. Absolutely spun its way through Shiva Mishra to allow the taking of that second run. The call from the LA dugout almost on contact was, that's safe, you're okay. You've split the difference between the depth of those two fielders over there. But more or less what Pranay Suri wants to create there, when you throw the off spinner at the lefty, you're hoping to get a toe end shot, pop something up, and have a nice easy catch. Just did not pick out the fielder that time around. It'll be the skipper on strike against the skipper from the other side. Raymond Reefer back into the attack.
Dug into the wicket, worked away off the hips by the captain. This is a tumbling stop at fine leg for a single. Lots of bowling changes by the strikers as these two batters continue to motor along.
It's interesting, a very different strategy from what we saw with LA. They're really mixing and matching, Silicon Valley are. LA confronted with the same sort of situation. They went with off spin for 8 consecutive overs, I think with maybe 1 over of Fernando in the middle of it. Did not do quite the same level of slicing and dicing that we're already seeing here.
It was also possibly motivated by the fact that they had 2 left-handers in the middle stage. So the offies had a prolonged spell. Dodson goes down the ground to the left of long on. That trickles towards the fieldsman for a couple of runs. Keep batting, Spooky has been a constant refrain from the dugout as Dodson marches towards the 40s, 39 from 26 so far. That is multiples of 13 on both balls and runs. a strike rate of exactly 150 at the moment.
Well, here's hoping he's not a triskaidekaphobe.
This time down the ground. That challenges the long on fielder to his right this time. A tumbling stop. The batters have time only for a single this time.
Dodson into the 40s and seeing it really, really well at this point.
The non-stop trickle of runs from the batters has been matched by the non-stop trickle of encouragement from the dugout. The Lashings really believe they have this chase in the works. Dug into the wicket, slapped towards the mid-wicket region by Harpreet for a single. Runs of every ball this over so far. 5 runs off Reefer with a couple of balls to go.
Well, I mentioned beforehand the way that both teams today have really rotated the strike. Not a lot of dots, hardly ever any strings of 2 or even 3 of them in a row. The current statistic with us being, just shy of the end of the 9th over, so that's 52 deliveries, I think. We've had 18 dot deliveries. So again, roughly 1 out of every 3, maybe even 1 out of every 4. That's the sort of thing that keeps the scoreboard ticking, that keeps pressure from really building. For the most part today, we've only seen wickets fall due to maybe a bit of carelessness, but not due to frustration yielding something reckless.
This time Dodson goes aerial, but long off is in business. That is a tumbling attempt at a catch. It pops out of the hands of the long off fieldsman. Dodson gets a single for his efforts.
Moves Akeem Dodson to 41, his new high score in minor league cricket over the course of now 3 seasons of action. St. Louis, Orlando, L.A., coast to coast. Skipper back on strike against the skipper.
Lofted long off is in business again. A tumbling attempt ends in vain again. That's consecutive business for long off fieldsmen off the right-hander and the left-hander. The batters settle with a 1 to finish an eventful over. 7 runs of Reefer's second over. None for 21 are his figures as Lashings move to 76 for 1 after 9 overs.
Both of the set batters dropped on back-to-back balls. In over number 9, LA Lashings 76 for 1 in the interest of comparison. Silicon Valley Strikers at this point in their innings were 72 for 1. So the chase absolutely on its way to a blockbuster finish. The Worms currently snuggling. A good start through just about the halfway point as Pranay Suri will continue on from Atul's end. First delivery guided wide of him. Protection was in the deep at the onside, and so in from the boundary is Azai. And that'll be a single to start as, again, this team continues to avoid not just strings of dot balls, but almost dot balls altogether. 19 of them out of the first 9 overs.
There has been a concerted attempt by all 3 batters in view so far by the Lashings to keep going after the bowling. That intent has been allied with some tremendous skill, especially by the 2 batters in the middle at the moment. Suri's built up a couple of dot balls against Dodson across his 2 overs so far. This time he flashes a cut towards the cover point fieldsman. They get a single, which brings Harpreet Singh on strike. He would like this matchup against the offie, bowling diagonal around the wicket. Harpreet Singh jumped down the track and pulverized the offie for a 6 in the previous encounter. Are we going to see a flattish, faster delivery by the bowler? Sliced into the offside by Harpreet for a single. Not too much flight on offer by the offie after that big 6. reminding our viewers of the overall context. Lashings in pursuit of their third win. This is their 7th game.
Really a must-win today, both in the morning and again in the afternoon if you're going to keep your playoff ambitions alive. This ball rolled to square leg. Dodson with another single here. Very quick over worked by Sooty. Already just one left from it.
Attempted cut shot by the skipper. Ends in a dot ball. That is the end of the 10-over mark. Lashings find themselves 79 for 1 at the halfway stage. Their run rate around about the 8 mark. The required rate 9.8.
And they're exactly 1 run behind where the Silicon Valley Strikers were at this juncture. Like the Strikers, they've got a very set batter. An opener in pursuit potentially of a first half century in minor league cricket, and they've got Harpreet Singh working with them there. Just a single wicket down. 79 for 1 as we hit the halfway point. Time for a drink. A correction made to the scoring card during the break. Lashings are in fact 80 for 1, just like the Silicon Valley Strikers were. Strikers managed 96 in the back half of their innings, so of course the Lashings need 97. It's going to be Yusuf Zazai. First delivery for him, nudged to the offside here by Hakeem Dodson. And again, this Lashings team continues to just tick the scoreboard over.
Both batters in the middle have strike rates upwards of 130. Skipper Harpreet Singh, 21 of 16 so far, about to face Zazai. (5-4) offside field for the right-handed batter. That is bashed into the wicket. Singh trying to force a pull shot, but only managing to get hit on the body on that occasion. A good bit of pace by Zazai.
Given the way this season's gone for the Lashings, you'll just be happy that hit something fleshy, and Harpreet continues to move around well out there. already lost one captain to an errant bouncer.
This time more bat on that. Squeezed out towards deep mid-wicket for a single by the skipper. Good bowling by Zazai.
Yeah, did very nicely to dig that one into the surface. Looked like it either was pace off or it just lost a bit more pace than expected after pitching. Harpreet able to just barely hold that bat back and make contact, but looked like he might have again thrown the shot a little soon.
A bit of an aborted attempt by the bowler on that occasion. This is going to be a pivotal phase in the chase. This next 4 or 5 overs, if the batting unit can continue to build on their stellar momentum, that will put them in pole position for a great chase. On the flip side, if the bowling unit can crank out a couple of tight overs, that will squeeze the batting unit. Speaking of which, Zazai bowling another tight ball. Foolish, eliciting a push towards the bowler by the left-handed Dodson. Just a couple of singles of these 4 balls from Zazai so far. Quite the tidy start after the break.
Dodson took a liking to Zazai, though, in Yusuf's first over of work. 2 fours off the last 3 balls of that over. He'll look for a repeat here.
Lofted towards long on. Long on fields on the bounce for a single. Dodson's southpaw stance reminds me a little bit of Nicholas Puran, the way he sets himself up.
Last ball of the over coming in from Yusuf Zazai. Righty on righty as that one is scooped and brought along on the onside by Harpreet Singh. Just 4 singles from that over, and the type of pressure building, squeezing over that Huddy referred to here in the 11th. Lashings 84 for 1, the run rate required for the first time touching 10s.
Pranay Suri to pick up proceedings from the near end. He is bowling around the wicket.
13 runs so far off him in his 2 overs of work. This his 3rd in a row from Atul's end.
Harpreet jumps down the track and lofts this to the right of Long On. Long On runs to his right in vain. That is a 4 on a single bounce. Harpreet Singh continues to take a shine to the off-spin offerings of Pranay Suri. He moves to 27 from just 20 balls with that boundary. Much needed boundary for Lashings after a quiet first over after the break.
Well, not a giant surprise to see Harpreet Singh picking up Pranay Suri well. Last season, his strike rate against off-spin was 264. Absolutely murdered it alongside 203 against lefty spinners.
Harpreet Singh marrying a fair bit of intent and footwork against off-spinners so far. A couple of boundaries off the offie. Again, a big swing to the leg side, this time from the crease. Mid-wicket runs to his left to keep the batters to a single.
Yeah, the only thing Harpreet has to watch out for is he's been explosive against spin. Also mostly lost his wicket last year to spin, and at a rather rapid rate. 43 balls per dismissal against pacers, just 9 against spin bowlers, and it was 6 of his 8 dismissals.
Classic confirmation of you live by the sword, die by the sword situation there.
No doubt.
This time Dodson hits this one along the ground towards long on for a single. A boundary of every over is what Lashings would want to keep up with the run rate. And occasionally, of course, they would love to steal a couple of boundaries. Right now, can Harpreet find one more against Suri? He flicks this one with a little bit of flourish towards deep in wicket, fielded on the bounce. That is another single.
I feel like with Harpreet, you have to calibrate your flourish meter because he just gives you a higher baseline level of it most of the time. The one that brought him into the 1,000-run club over the weekend was a one-handed 6. That was some flourish.
This one dinked into the offside for a useful dot ball by the left-handed Dodson. Surya against Dodson is a lot friendlier matchup for the offies so far. This time driven back towards the bowler, a half stop by the bowler. The bowler hops in a little bit of pain. Favorable matchup in terms of dot balls, but not so much in terms of pain. Suri in a little bit of strife, but he closes out a good over, 7 runs, which is handy in the context of the required run rate. Lashings 91 for 1 after 12.
A 12th over marked and bracketed by damage to Pranay Suri. Physical on the final delivery, psychological on the first one, the 4 from Harpreet Singh, but a heck of a comeback from Suri to give up just 3 more from the final 5 balls of that over. Lashings in that stage where a little bit of pressure can cause that acquired rate to skyrocket, and who better to apply some pressure than one of the best or most economical bowlers in MILC, Saurabh Netravulkar, back into the attack from the Taraka end.
Netravulkar about to begin bowling left arm over the wicket to the right-handed Harpreet Singh.
Protection dramatically shifted to the right side for Harpreet here. The offside.
Pulled away, mid-wickets in place to stop that off the second bounce. That is a single to begin the 13th over.
You know, I thought the field was more dramatically shifted. It's because one person was hiding directly behind our camera.
So it has been a symmetric 5-4 field for both right and left-handers so far.
That makes a little more sense.
Lots of blue shirts moving around given the left-right nature of the partnership. A long off and a sweeper cover in place in the deep on the offside for Dodson. Dodson picked up a couple of boundaries of Netravulkar's opening over. He would love to continue finding the boundaries. At least a boundary every over should be Lashings' motto at this stage of the innings. Slice towards the point region for a quick single.
And as much as the boundaries are going to be necessary, the other thing is just to continue to pick up these singles and doubles where the opportunities arise. You've got to be ready to steal every last one. Required rate edging its way towards 11s now. Of course, this the first of 2 games today for the LA Lashings. They'll take on the Blazers in a rematch of yesterday's encounter at 3 p.m. We'll have played 8 of their 10 matches on the season by the time they're done here today.
Quite a lot of protection in the deep on the offside for Harpreet. 3 men between long off and sweeper cover. A bit of a stifled appeal for caught behind, but that might have just bounced in front of the keeper. Netravulkar has switched to bowling left arm around the wicket to the right-hander. And he's keeping it well outside the off stump at the moment.
So Lashings bench not impressed with that appeal, thought there wasn't anything in it, and seemed to be sledging the strikers for having even suggested it. Third man very fine here with Harpreet Singh on strike.
He gets a bit of a low on that one. Long off runs across and pouches an important catch. Harpreet Singh falls in the pursuit of quick runs, but that is a well-made innings. He falls for 30 of 25. That was a sparkling partnership between Dodson and Harpreet Singh. Lashings find themselves 93 for 2 in the middle of the 13th over. Netravulkar is among the wickets. amongst the wickets again. He's got his first wicket in his third over.
Yeah, and his first wicket outside the power play here in 2025, and exactly what you're hoping from him. Keeps that line disciplined, manages to get a bit of a toe-ended shot into the deep area of the offside, but just not close enough to Harry's arc to get deposited over the boundary rope this time around. And that is exactly what you bring him into the attack for. Partnership ended on 70 runs. Those 70 runs coming in just barely over 9 overs together at the center after that bright start between Akeem Dodson and Mohammad Ishach. Dodson, meanwhile, 3 away from a potential first MILC half-century.
Zahid Zakil, the man in at number 4. We were surprised to not see him with the ball earlier in the piece after a pretty good spell yesterday against the Blazers. What we learned from the Lashings dugout is he is quite fit. There is no concern or niggle as of now. That is good news for the Lashings side as he gears up to face his first ball against Netravulkar, who has switched back to left arm over the wicket. A pair of left-handed batters in the middle at the moment. Driven aerially to point, and he's gone. Oh my word, that was a bit of a nothing shot from Zakil. Perhaps there was a bit of change of pace involved. Consecutive strikes by Netravulkar.
And for Zahid Zakil, his third duck and his fourth time this season out before managing to reach even 2 runs. Second golden duck. In fact, he's been dismissed by Saurabh Netravulkar for a golden duck in both matches against Silicon Valley this season. Has not been able to solve his former teammate from that 2022 season, and he has got to go. And this is, we said beforehand that this is exactly what you bring Saurabh Netravulkar in for. I don't know if you throw him in there dreaming of him taking 2.
Netravulkar did a tremendous amount of damage with his third over in his previous contest against Lashings, although that was inside the power plays. This time, again, the third over of his spell, but in the middle stage, snagging 2 wickets on the bounce, sending the skipper back first, and now Zakil as well, which means he is on a hat-trick.
10 of those in the history of minor league. One of them that just this past weekend, Dev Prasad with Philadelphia. Netravulkar has one of those hat tricks. Got it in Seattle. Had it split over the course of 2 overs of work. Took 1 at the end of an over, and then bang, bang when he came back into the attack for wickets number 9 and 10 in the defense of a very small total that day up at Klahani Park in Seattle.
Achilles Brown in at number 5. He was the man who did the repair job against the 13th over. Quite the productive over for Netravulkar. Just 4 runs and a couple of important wickets. The required rate at the moment, 11.7.
Pranay Suri will bowl out his spell from Atul's end. He's had the last 3 overs from that end. Gave up a 6 on his second ball and a 4 on his first ball of the third over of work. Otherwise, it's been a lot of singles and a lot of dots. And Suri has been relatively effective at keeping things under wraps here at none for 20 off his 3. Dodson on strike to start. And the lefty will look to get off strike against the off spinner as quickly as possible and turn this over to Achilles Brown.
What's good for Suri at the moment is the man who was finding the boundaries off him, Harpreet Singh, is back in the dugout. He has to contend against a new batter in the middle now. Achilles Brown marking his guard. He has been scoring quite a few runs for Lashings this tournament.
Quite the surprise. In fact, had just 35 career MILC runs before last weekend and then put up a 44 not out, along with another score in the 30s.
Brown goes back and defends this one towards the bowler. That is a tidy start by Pranay Suri.
Yesterday's match, 27 off 30 for him.
So Brown's been quite the accumulator of runs for Lashings this tournament so far, striking a little south of 100. This time he opens the shoulders up and launches that one over, long on. Just when I mentioned he strikes a little under 100, he opens up his shoulders and proves the commentator wrong. That is a handsome 6. An early statement of intent from the number 5 batter. He's been amongst the runs so far. Now he's amongst the big hits.
That one took forever to come down. Off the bat, I wasn't sure if it was going to have the legs as high as it went.
This time he goes into the offside with a cut shot, a tumbling stop by the man in the ring at point. Things are heating up in the middle. Both batters looking to take the game on. Dodson just shy of a half century. Brown fresh at the crease but looking to take the game on. This time flicked into the mid-wicket region for a possible couple of runs. They stick with a single. Deep mid-wicket is on the job.
Certainly Dodson and Brown between the wickets. A decent bit of speed between the two of them. Likely to be folks looking for that second run on a semi-regular basis.
The required rate has crept up to 12 runs an over as we speak, which means the batting unit needs at least a couple of boundaries every over. This time Dodson hits this one towards long on along the ground and moves to 49 from 40 balls. Suri completes a 9-run fourth over. That's none for 29 of his 4-over spell. Lashings are 1 of 4 for 3 after 14 overs.
Suri's spell at an end, and they'll continue the alternation at the Tarika end between Yusuf Zazai and lefty pacers. They've gone Zazai, Reefer, Zazai, Netravulkar, back to Zazai. 16 off the first 2 he's bowled. Couple of 4s from Akeem Dodson at the end of his first over of work, responsible for most of the damage. It is Dodson on strike, 1 away from a first MILC half-century. He'll drag it on the ground and claim that half-century. Spooky getting it done here. Another half-century from an opener in this match. Adada before, Dodson now, as Lashings look to keep themselves alive in this chase. The required rate up a little over 2 runs a ball now. 72 off 35. But gettable with a set batter like him, and certainly with somebody like Achilles Brown at the other end, who can anchor things and let Dodson express himself.
50 from 41 with the help of 5 4s and a 6 is Dodson's current tally. He would love to go bang at this decisive stage of the chase and stay till the end as Achilles Brown readies up to face Zazai. Bowled fuller, attempted drive by Brown, but no contact off the bat. That is a very handy dot by Zazai. A fair bit of pace on that ball.
You mentioned before Brown's strike rate coming into the weekend of 82 on the season. 120, though, against righty pacers. And so this is what he sees best and has been delivering most effectively against, hitting roughly every 7th ball to the boundary.
This time a little bit of bat on that shot. It trickles to the point region as the batters contemplate a second run. They stick with 1 though. A little bit of a conference between the two batters talking about the change of pace that Zazai has been employing Achilles Brown twirling his wrist, indicating to Dodson that this guy has been bowling those leg cutters, perhaps. Banged into the wicket, this time helped along by Dodson to the man at point in the ring. An unfortunate way to end an enterprising innings. That is a big moment in the game for strikers. They've gotten the set batter out. Pretty quiet way to a thunderous innings to end. He falls for exactly 50 from 42 balls. He's kept this chase alive for the majority of this innings. In fact, for all of this innings.
That's now 3 wickets lost for 13 on the last 13 balls for the Lashings, and not having the same effect going for the scoop or the switch hit that we saw from Adada, who turned that 50 into a big score over 80. The applause from the dugout for Hakeem Dodson, just his second match here with the LA Lashings, and as you said, Hadi, does well to keep this chase alive for the duration. Additionally, the work of particularly himself and Harpreet Singh in the center, managing to delay the insertion of an Elmore Hutchinson until the point here where generally the Lashings want to see him. If you lose those wickets early, and that's happened a lot to this club, you're forced to either bring in weaker batters to try and stall when you see Elmore, or put Elmore in a situation where he's a little less comfortable going bonkers right from the get-go. So he will come in here at 6. We haven't yet seen the best of Elmore Hutchinson with bat in hand. Just 3 boundaries off the 33 balls he's faced. A 16 high score and a 16 average for that matter, just dismissed twice.
Appeal for leg before. The umpire is unmoved as the batter scramble a leg by. An overthrow at the non-strikers and allows the batters to complete a second run, backed up by the long-on fieldsman. Leg by is confirmed by the umpire. That is spared and quick, but perhaps shaping down the leg side. Hutchinson not quite off the mark, but a useful couple of runs for the Lashings. He's got a situation right now. 69 from 5.1, which means the new batter has no time to get set.
Historically, that is Elmore's specialty.
Steered into the gap at the point region by Elmore, although point in the ring is able to intercept. That is a single. Ellie is off the mark with that single. That is an eventful over from Desai, tidy from a striker's standpoint and an important wicket. He's got figures of 1 for 19 after his 3 overs, as Lashings find themselves 109 for 4 with 5 overs to go in the chase.
Change of ends for the skipper, Raymond Reefer, who will bowl from a tool's end for his 3rd of the encounter. First over, quite expensive, a 6 and a 4 amongst 14 runs. Second over went for 7. Perhaps most of note, Reefer yet to bowl a dot at this point, and that will be welcome news for the LA Lashings as they look to stack runs. Required rate now up over 13.5 per over, 68 off the final 30 balls. Here comes the first from Reefer here in the death. Digs it into the surface, stays down at shoulder height, and will be a dot to start. So just as I mentioned it, he now does have his first dot delivery. Heaven knows you can afford that bouncer a little more effectively with Elmore Hutchinson at that end. At 6'6", you're much less likely to have it go over his head.
I was surprised to see Elmore Hutchinson not quite attempt a shot after that short ball. Perhaps he didn't quite pick the trajectory of the ball. Again, dug in shot this time, an edge, taking it towards the point region for a useful single.
Yeah, Hutchinson in prior seasons has always been a little timid in the middle, but has had a big strike rate at the death, 165 last year. And generally good for 1 boundary off of every 6 balls he faces. has been a little bit less himself to start this season, looking for that big breakout. Certainly a day when the Lashings desperately need it.
Brown goes looking for some boundaries to the deep mid-wicket region. The ball is in the air. Two fielders converge. Deep mid-wicket. Unfortunately, couldn't quite close that catch out. The batters complete a couple of runs.
That is at least the third drop we've seen from this Strikers fielding unit.
We saw a couple of drops off actually Reefer in the long off region and from the far end, and this time from the deep mid-wicket fieldsman. A little unfortunate for the skipper. Attempted pull shot trickles towards the offside for a single.
So at this point, if you're the Lashings, you've done well to put a few runs on the board, get yourselves accustomed to the pace and the aggression of Reefer. Now you've got to send one of these to the rope.
Banged into the track this time. Hutchinson gets a bit more wood on that one. Pulled towards long on for a single. The strikers wouldn't quite mind the singles at the moment.
Achilles to face the last of over number 16. That one briefly in the air, but falls in front of Gary Graham. Brown well down the track, scrambles back, and there's no signal from the umpire on the throw. And so no run out, but also no run. And just 5 off that over. Reefer bracketing those 5 runs with a pair of dots at the start and the finish. 4 overs to go, 63 required off of them. Asking rate almost up to 16 now. LA 114 for 4. One other batter left with a reputation for going big at the finish, that Abhimanyu Rajap. Otherwise, likely up to these two to try and cross the line. It is 63 runs away, that line. Silicon Valley, thus far in the bowling card, they've bowled out Pranay Suri. They've got 1 over left of everyone else. Netravulkar, Kamran, Reefer, and Yusuf. It's going to be Netravulkar to be the first to bowl out his spell, as he takes the ball again from the Tarika end. His last over, a massively devastating one for the Lashings. 2 wickets and 4 runs.
Full toss, sliced through third man for 4. Ellie Hutchinson opening his shoulders up on that occasion and placing it in between the 2 men and the deep on the offside.
Unlike the first ball of the prior over, Hutchinson ready to take advantage of a mistake by the bowler. Reefer dug that one in to start the prior over and really open up the opportunity, if you're ready for it, to try and flick it over the top of the wicketkeeper for 4. This time, Saurabh Netravulkar, a rare full toss, and Hutchinson makes no mistake.
The rate is 15 plus at the moment. Can Ellie Hutchinson follow that boundary up with more big hits as Netravulkar continues to bowl left arm around? Banged into the track this time. A fierce pull shot. Mid-wicket runs to his left and a few steps forwards to field that. A single.
Reminder here, a chase that essentially has the LA Lashings playoff hopes hanging on it at the moment. You take that 5th loss, it is very, very unlikely, unless one team dominates, that you're going to have second place be just at 500. Need the wins here today to keep that alive. Netravulkar to Brown.
Attempted slice finds more edge than middle, and luckily in the gap as well. That is a streaky 4 for Achilles Brown. 4-1-4 to begin the 17th over. The volume still up and loud at the Lashings dugout. 54 from 21 balls is the ask at the moment. Still a towering ask.
Well, Lashings took 9 off of both of Netravulkar's first 2 overs, and there are times where you'd rather be lucky than good. And that will do right there for the Lashings. 4 runs are 4 runs. 9 so far off the first 3 of Netravulkar's last.
That is quite the good delivery from Netravulkar, bowling it full and angling it into the right-hander. Brown trying to dig it out towards the covers, finding a handy edge. What's going to be the follow-up delivery from Saurabh? This time off the middle, this time along the ground. Sweeper runs and keeps the batters to a couple of runs.
Just briefly a little concern. There was a delay, a little hitch between Brown and Hutchinson making that decision to go for the second run. I was wondering if that was going to cost them as the throw came down to Netravulkar's end, but they do get home. Worth noting, so far this season, Saurabh has had some struggles at the death. He's gone for 11s in the 2 overs he's bowled to the death coming into today. He's already gone for 11 off 4 deliveries here. Nearly a sharp caught and bowled, but that one gets through Saurabh Netravulkar for another single. 12 off the frame, and the problem at this juncture is that is not enough. This will be the last ball of Saurabh's spell, and if you're Elmore Hutchinson, you would love to get this one to disappear over mid-wicket. Or maybe just straight back over his head. Smashed, but within range of the fielder at long on. That'll be a single to finish. 13 from the over, but the asking rate coming in was 15s, and now it's nearly 17s. 50 off 18 for the LA Lashings to rescue victory here from the jaws of defeat. 127 for 4. Netravulkar finishing with figures of 2 for 34 from his spell. Next to bowl out his spell will be... 2 for 35. Thank you, Huddy. The next to bowl out his spell will be Raymond Reefer. Steaming in from Atul's end, where he has bowled the last 2 of his spell. Beaten up a bit in his first 2 overs. Gave up just 5 in the last over from this end. And it'll be Elmore on strike to start. 50 required from 18.
A slower shot delivery by Reefer, defeating Elmore's attempted pull shot. Good bit of skill from the captain there.
That is some foxy stuff there from the 34-year-old Barbadian. Reefer thus far this season has taken tap at the death, going at an economy of 11.17.
Again shot. This time Ellie Hutchinson gets a piece of that. That sails over mid-wicket for a much-needed 6. This is an entertaining Caribbean showdown here. As first ball, a skillful dot ball by Reefer. Change of pace shot, defeating Hutchinson's pull shot. Now a big 6 by Hutchinson in response. On-pace shot delivery climbing into the arc of Hutchinson's pull shot.
Shivam Mishra out in the deep. Thought he was in it for just a moment. Hutchinson gets enough. Of course, he'll remain on strike here. Reefer, what has he got for the comeback?
Attempted slap down the ground. No contact. Angled across the right-hander. Perhaps a little bit of change of pace too on that one. Off pace would be a useful option for Reefer as the batters are forced now to go for the big hits.
Reefer so far has picked up a wicket in every match this season. 3 balls to try and knock somebody over here.
Again, a similar scenario. Again, angled across the right-hander. Again, a big pull shot by Hutchinson meets thin air. Dot balls on the bounce by Reefer.
Well, and at this juncture, if you're the strikers, the dot balls are every bit as valuable as the wickets. That required rate now pushed up past 3 runs a ball. Strikers just about home at this point with what would be win number 4 on the season.
Bowled Fuller, this time driven straight down the ground. Long off runs across to keep the batters in check. That is only a single. 7 runs of 5 balls so far in this over. Can Brown coax a boundary off the last ball of Reefer's spell? Five-4 fielding split for both batters. 5 on the offside. Brown goes looking for a big booming move across mid-wicket, but no contact. That is a very, very tidy finish to Reefer's last over. 4 dots, a single and 6. That is great returns in the context of the required rate. Reefer has figures of none for 33 after 4 overs. He was a little unlucky with those dropped chances. A couple of them around about long off and one at mid-wicket. Lashings 134 for 4 after 18 overs. The target looking a little bit distant now. The equation 43 runs correction of just 2 overs.
Yusuf Zazai and Kamran Hotak, the only bowlers used so far today that have got overs left in the kitty. They are also 2 of the only 3 to strike for the strikers. Kamran way back in the 4th over, responsible for removing the opener, Muhammad Ishach. Yusuf Zazai, the one who finally got the half-centurion Akeem Dodson on 50 from 41 in the 15th over. Of course, Netravulkar, the back-to-back wickets of Harpreet Singh and Zahid Zakhail. It began the downward trajectory for the Lashings. Another attempt here on the first from Zazai by Hutchinson to get under one, and he cannot. Solid line and length there from Zazai, and nothing Hutchinson could do with it. At this point, 11 consecutive 4s would get the Lashings over the line on the final ball.
Brown trying to slice that one to third man, but no contact. He remonstrates with the umpire, hoping for a wide, but the umpire says that is within the tram lines. Brown for a second on his haunches there.
Don't know if we have a replay of that one there, Bala. See if Achilles Brown was on to something there, but Yusuf Zazai already about ready to steam back in with the next one.
This time he gets a lot more wood on that one. It's been sliced towards deep point for a single. Singles aren't quite enough for Lashings at this very moment. 41 of 9 is the ask. That is more than a boundary every single ball.
And really this match changed by the Netravulkar return in the middle overs, those 2 wickets.
That has been lofted down the ground to the left of the long-on fieldsman. Is that 4 or 6? Waiting for the umpire's signal.
A signal from the fielder was 4. See if the replay gives us any clarity.
Umpire says 4 it is. The game still within mathematical reach of the Lashings chasing unit. 37 from 8 balls. Can Hutchinson find another boundary? This time over the offside, over the leaping cover fieldsman. It is a bit of a race between ball and fieldsman. The ball wins much needed boundaries for Lashings. They are still alive, although only just 10 runs it is over with the ball to go. 144 for 4 in the penultimate over are Lashings.
Get this one to disappear over the rope, and 20, what would it be then? 27 required, 26 for a super over. You could see that happening. It would be off the spinner, Kamran Hotak, or some mystery sixth bowler that we haven't seen yet.
Lots of 4s on the on-screen scorecard. 144 for 4, 4 and 4 of the last 2 balls. From a Lashings perspective, they'd love to see a 4 or even better a 6 at this stage to give them just a sliver of a chance as we head into the 20th over.
Got a little cackle out of the LA Lashings bench suggesting to the strikers, helpfully I'm sure, that Gary Graham should roll the arm over and bowl the last over. For those wondering, in his MILC career, Gary has bowled exactly none balls. So you know, if you're a Lashings fan, you're all for it.
Can Hutchinson conjure one more boundary as his eye is about to bowl his last ball for the day? 1 for 29 of his 3.5. He has been a tricky customer to get away in the middle and late stages. He was taken for a couple of boundaries by Dodson in his first over, but since then he's been pretty effective despite these 2 boundaries at the death. Hutchinson goes down the ground, long off, watches it sail to his left. Is that 4 or 6? 4, says the umpire. Chirps of no ball from the dugout, but the umpires are unmoved. That's a legal delivery. Zazai has figures of 1 for 33 from 4 overs. Lashings barely stay alive. They are alive and kicking. 29 needed of the last over for an unlikely chase.
We'll see who's getting the ball. It appears to be Kamran Hotak that will bowl the 20th. As Zazai finishes with figures of 1 for 33.
That was a full toss around the height of Hutchinson's hip, and Hutchinson obliging with the head down the ground. Importantly now, Achilles Brown is on strike. Can he take Hotak for some early runs? 29 from 6 means the Lashings need at least 5 boundaries.
Yeah, single off the first, and you'd be looking at likely 4 6s and a 4. That's what would get it done if Brown gets Hutchinson on strike. Of course, it's not to say that they can't do this with Achilles Brown also. He's shown the ability to get some power. Never that many in a row, but...
Brown opened his innings with a 6.
Deep fielders at mid-wicket, long off, long on, backward square, and sweeper cover. Maybe even more extra cover for that fielder. First delivery from Hotak.
Short ball hit down the ground towards long off. That is a single, which is quite the comfortable result for strikers at the moment.
Hotak so far your most economical bowler today. 1 for 14. Not the guy you want to see if you're the Lashings right now, but we'll see what Hutchinson can do against a little lefty spin.
Ball shorter. Hutchinson goes for a big lift towards mid-wicket. Mid-wicket runs in and completes a tumbling catch. That is possibly the end of the chase.
It's Naman Patil coming in to secure that one. And after all the drops that we'd had today, there was certainly concern from the strikers bench about would that one be held or not. But it almost didn't matter at this point. That one not making it to the boundary rope was going to basically put a Achilles Brown on strike, needing 4 fours and at least a couple extras, no balls or wides, in order to get home. Instead, it is the end of Elmore Hutchinson on 29 from 18. LA 5 wickets down, 28 required off 4. Without a little bit of assistance from Kamaran Hotak, that is no longer mathematically gettable. We'll see what Abhimanyu Rajap can do to manage the net run rate hit here in the last 4 deliveries. First legitimate, correction, sorry, one of the other number 8s. It's Shiva Vashishat coming in to bat.
Appeal for leg before. The umpire says nope. Attempted pull shot by Shiva, defeated by the bowler's flat trajectory. Strikers closing in on their 4th win. This would send them sailing to the top of the table. They're tied for 3 wins with a couple of other teams, Blazers and Grizzlies. The Sam worked away into the offside for a single as Shiva gets off the mark. Only a couple of balls left in the match as strikers put the finishing touches to a successful defense. Lashings bring their 150 up. Brown.
And you note those 4 wins for the Silicon Valley Strikers. East Bay and San Ramon will get an opportunity to join them on 4 as that one is lifted straight to Reefer. And after having a number of chances dropped off his bowling, he does take that one. No, he does not. My correction, that's a single. I am nonplussed. What happened there? We were blocked from view. I couldn't tell if that was him saying that's how you do it, or him saying, you know what, maybe I earned that with all of the barking earlier. At any rate, it'll be a single drag behind square off the bat of Shiva Vashishat to close things out here. 3 singles at the end and a 24-run victory for the Silicon Valley Strikers, who, as Hadi told you, go to 4-1 now on the season. East Bay Blazers and San Ramon Grizzlies will have a chance to join them on 4 wins by the end of today. Blazers will be out here facing off with these LA Lashings in our game at 3 p.m., about 54 minutes away from now. And up in Seattle, getting rolling, I believe, in about 24 minutes' time, will be Thunderbolts Grizzlies. That also on MLC Network. We'll be keeping, half an eye on that as we're bringing you the latter game. Before we do call things to a close here in the first half of our doubleheader, though, we'll take a look at the batting and bowling cards for the 2 sides. A look here at the Lashings in the course of their chase.
Lashings anchored and kept afloat by Akeem Dodson's resourceful 50 from 42 balls. Boundaries around the ground for him. Very productive opening combination with Ishach. And Harpreet Singh and number 3 injecting a fair bit of momentum into the chase with 30 of 25 with a couple of big strikes off the off-spinning Pranay Suri. As Akil departed for naught, Achilles Brown at the death, 23 of 18. Elmore Hutchinson batting valiantly for 29 from 18 balls with a couple of sixes. In the end, the total a little too much for Lashings despite a resourceful chase. Let's take a quick look at the bowling card.
And the Lashings do break 150 for the first time this season, but held in check down the stretch. You recall it was 80 for 1 after 10 overs, identical to what the Silicon Valley Strikers had put up, but it was that spell from Saurabh Netravulkar, those 2 wickets on back-to-back deliveries that really swung the entire chase. A little bit of economy in there as well to start to balloon the net run rate, or excuse me, the run rate required, I mean to say. And then economical bowling down the stretch as well from Raymond Reefer and Yusuf Zazai, despite them each taking a little bit of tap earlier. Zazai did concede those 3 consecutive fours to Hutchinson to keep the chase alive going into the 20th over. But Kamaran Hotak, despite my mistake, he took 2 wickets. What am I saying? I was about to say despite not striking because he hadn't going into the final over, but he does claim a pair of wickets, goes at 2 for 18, and early on applied a bit of pressure, and then late in the late going, bowling expertly to finish off over number 20 and have the Silicon Valley Strikers coast to that 24-run victory. We'll be back, as we said, in roughly 45 minutes' time with the second match of our doubleheader. The Silicon Valley Strikers will play host in name, as this is the Strikers' ground, but they will not be involved. It'll be the Blazers and the Lashings, and we'll see whether the LA Lashings can rebound from yesterday's defeat and this morning's defeat to try to put a happy end again to a spell of games in the Bay Area. For Huddy Venkatramani, for Bala at the controls, for on the camera work, my name's Joe Hickey for the MLC Network. We thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll come right on back for Blazers Lashings at 3. See you soon.